family stuff. Yeah, anything from your past couple weeks that kind of shines out that you want to mention off the hop?
Well, I'm trying to think what kind of stood out, and I feel like it was kind of a mix of UFOs kind of back in the light,
Yeah.
and Inner Earth.
Oh yeah, you saw some Inner Earth stuff?
Yeah, it was popping up in a couple of different podcasts separately. It was like they were kind of on the same wavelength. Inner Earth / Atlantis.
Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of mixing up.
They're bringing that back, the whole Atlantis thing.
Well, there was this guy on Richard Serrett's show, Strange Planet.
Okay.
And this guy has this book, and he was explaining the whole, his theory about this was he's like, oh, I went back and read like all the original texts, in the original Greek or Latin, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, basically, I think that people have been mistranslating him. He's like, basically, what Plato was describing could translate to archipelago, I think.
Oh.
And so he was like, basically, I think his whole point that he was finally getting to was that he thinks it's the Eye of the Sahara.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people I've heard that before.
Yeah. I think that's what he was getting at. I kind of glazed over a bit of it, but
there's a strong case for the Eye of the Sahara.
Yeah. I have a
real strong case.
I haven't finished what he was getting into, but like he was going on about all these like original sources. But nowadays, when I hear people talking about going back to original sources and shit, the more I start thinking about the history gap and the fake writing of documents and shit. And I just like I can't I can't find a start point where I could say anything's real.
Yeah, or something's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Sir Isaac Newton did a book. I don't know if we talked about it before, but it was called the Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms, and he did it. I think like he was paid by one of the royal families of the time to do this book, and they wanted like a chronological history of all of time, and he studied it for longer than he did anything else in his career. I think like 40 years he spent studying, documents and, I mean, all they have was different royal family and wealthy family libraries, maybe monasteries, shit like that. Right. But like he just had to go search out old documents and fucking see what was available and read through it and see if it, had any kind of stuff he could use. And so he said that he didn't think that there was anything reliable past I think he said the 15th century.
Yeah.
Like, which would have been the 1400s. He said there's like nothing reliable that they could date, or date back to past the 1400s. And I mean, he's in the 1700s. I think so. 300 years basically. He's saying we can't assure that anything is for real, anything earlier than 300 years. And he's like, and I think he said there was no proof of absolutely anything before the 11th century.
Yeah,
and that's been proven before. I think we played a clip before of like some guy, some scientist dude talking about how they don't have any original documents before the 11th century.
Yeah.
It's all copies of copies, like everything that's ever been found or recorded in history, where they're like, oh, we've got these ancient documents of Cicero or these mentions of Caesar and whatever. All that shit was all found during the Enlightenment after the Dark Ages, and you can imagine like nowadays, the narrative is like so controlled, no one knows what's real, you can just imagine what it would have been like back in the day when you didn't have the internet or fucking, anything. And all you could trust was, or thought you could trust, was the clergy at the church,
Yeah, even before the printing press.
Yeah.
Before the printing press, if you were a scientist and you were like, what I have is fair and true, and this needs to be in a book, and we need to spread this out, that you had to have people employed to write it out.
Hmm.
Or if you had a book and someone wanted to borrow it, they would probably borrow it to have someone scribe it out. But how do you trust they're going to put it word for word?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They could be putting their own spin, their own agenda.
And even, I mean, I guess he's going to read it after and probably beat you if you didn't copy it exactly. It's not like he's illiterate.
How would he know?
Well, you mean if it was a different language, you mean?
Well, some to the effect of, like, if it was today and the person that was doing the typing, say, was like a super Christian,
Right.
they would probably change some things, like, no, that's demonic, I don't like that. Change a few of the words.
Yeah, if they were translating the work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just something like that. If they had the power to change it just because they felt like it.
Yeah, that's a bit different than dictating, though. Like if, say Isaac Newton wasn't writing all this shit, he just had somebody taking down his notes, right? And he's like, scribe, take this down. The earth rotates in such a way,
Yeah.
he's going to read that shit as soon as it's done and be like, wait a minute, that's not what I said at all, you son of a bitch.
So Isaac Newton was from England. So say someone in Italy was just like, I want Isaac Newton's book. That scribe is a good scribe. But
Right.
then 10 people in Italy all want the same thing. So that one book goes to A, and then B and C, and then you can proliferate.
They each have their own scribe that's going to copy the book.
Somewhere in those 10 people,
yeah,
one of those scribes is going to hate the guy that's going to want the book.
Sure.
So, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to put all the wrong information in there.
Do some spelling backwards, hide penis in there in between the words if you like fucking cross, read it across. Or
of course.
Something.
We're people. Of course. I would do it. I certainly would do it. But what if that's the book that survives?
Right. That's the only surviving manuscript.
Yeah. If the actual author became alive today and it was just like, no, that's not it at all. And we've been basing our whole society down that path.
Shakespeare, there's no original Shakespeares at all.
That's correct. They don't even know if he was a person.
Yeah.
He might have been a group of people.
Could have been a group of people. I tend to lean towards the Oxford theory, Earl of Oxford.
Earl of Oxford?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that theory.
No?
What is it?
Well, so I kind of thought it was a fringe theory, but it turns out it's like very well established. And like even to the point that like on Frasier, I just was watching old episodes of Frasier and they were joking about how like one of them is Oxfordian and one of them is Stratfordian, right?
Yeah,
because one believes he was the Avon from Stratford or whatever, the bard from Stratford, and the other one thinks that it was the Earl of Oxford.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyways, the Earl of Oxford was a person who lived, I think it was quite a bit before Shakespeare's time. I can't remember all the details of it, but anyways, he was like a child prodigy. He like went to university when he was 8 years old, I think.
Oh.
And he was writing like, 5 languages and all kinds of shit. Like he was a super genius, but he was just a rich person, right? So his parents just were paying for him to get these amazing educations from tutors and shit like that. And he would, soak it up. And so people believe that he wrote all this Shakespeare stuff because at that time, writing things was seen as like very bourgeois or, petty or whatever, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like really looked down upon.
Kind of today too.
Yeah, well, maybe.
A little bit. Not too much.
It's looked up upon by the peasants like us. We're like, oh wow, a writer. But anyone up in the high society is like, oh, a writer,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that's kind of how it was. So it was like, but the thing was, he was writing all this shit that like people found amazing. Like even the royalty thought it was great and whatever, right?
Hmm.
But um, yeah, he wouldn't claim the glory for it. So it was pinned on this Shakespeare person who has a similar name. I think like the idea is that he used a fake name, and then they found somebody that kind of just fit that name that already had like a similar name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they let him kind of take it on basically. They like looking for a patsy, somebody that they were like, hey, listen, like we'll let you kind of take you know the glory for all this shit, right? And so the guy did.
Yeah. And but it became popular enough for like royalty, right? Like the
Yeah.
queen wants to come see the latest Shakespeare and
Yeah.
that kind
Well,
of stuff.
yeah. Well, yeah, but at the same time, it was all discovered at once. Like all of a sudden there was like a package, like that's
Oh.
what it's called. Like I think the first folio is what it's called. And it was like 28 plays and sonnets, all from Shakespeare. That was the first thing that was ever discovered of Shakespeare and released. So it was all
Oh.
one package, and it was all copies of his originals. It wasn't the originals. It was just a package that was all copies of the original.
Oh.
So yeah, you could see how like that could be construed a certain way, right? Like, oh, okay, well, it's pretty convenient. And then you know, like maybe someone else had an agenda, right?
Mm.
In putting that out there.
I liked how that was a part of that movie, The Gentleman. That who's his face? All right, all right, all right.
Oh,
Matthew
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
Yeah. His revenge on the guy that screwed him over, that backstabbed him, stripped him to his underwear, put him in a deep freezer, and he wasn't. He goes, "I believe in Shakespeare. You're not allowed out until I get my pound of flesh. Here's a knife.
Right.
I suggest your hand." And then lock the door. Like that. That's sick, man. That's awesome. But that was from back at that time, way way long in Shakespeare. I want my pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like, there's been all kinds of like papers and shit like that, like what do you call it? Like master's fucking thesis and shit like that written about
Yeah.
how Shakespeare like knew an amazing amount about law at the time.
Mm.
Like enough that he knew the intricate workings of law, like he could have been a lawyer. And then also a surgery, like he knew like the human body, all the way the parts went together, the insides and out, and like it was like this guy like knew all this stuff, right? But if you ever look into that, the historical Shakespeare, the guy like was illiterate, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like, oh yeah, like he dictated all that stuff to someone. That's what people believe basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like illiterate. He never wrote anything else at that time. And then like everyone that knew him at that time never talked about how great a playwright or anything he was. Like any like historical records that there are of him are just like, oh yeah, Shakespeare bought a pound of fucking wheat here, and talked about his chickens and whatever, right?
Mm.
But they don't say anything about like, oh, talking about a new play, or like, we really admire him or anything like that, right? But then in other passages, these same people that are taking these notes, say something like, oh, Farmer Dell came in today and his son is like, first chair in the orchestra in Chicago. Like, quite a thing it must be for, to be his father and whatever, right? So they like gleam about these people, but Shakespeare's coming in. They're just like, yeah, he bought some wheat today or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just on the ledger. So it's just a little shit like that.
Mm. Yeah. So with the so we can't trust that Shakespeare was a person. That's all muddied up.
But it's nothing, right? Like that was kind of the point of that, right? It's like, you can't trust Shakespeare. Everything you look back on, it's like, we learned that because it's in the history books, but who wrote those history books and where did they get that
Right.
information, right?
Right. And we're treating it as fact, like cave paintings.
Right.
Let's take that as an example. Or like you go to like Angkor Wat and there's like all like these like pictures everywhere. They didn't have movies for a long time. How do you know that's not a movie in their world?
Right.
Like you have to find an old person, like, tell me the thing again. Oh, okay. So here's the story. And they have to walk beside the picture and just kind of show what's going on.
Right.
And that's the closest they had to a movie back then, other than like maybe shadow puppets.
Right. So you think that could be fake then, that kind of stuff, or it could be imagination?
Like, yeah, could be imagination, could be to tell a story.
Mhm.
None of it was true. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, back then, hunting these animals and stuff. So they had to, maybe that's a story.
Right. Yeah, see, it could be. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, when people do tell all those crazy tales, we've got all these stories like the travels of Sir John Mandeville, like that book from
Mm.
like I think it was from the 1500s, but that guy, he like traveled the entire world and gave all these accounts of like fucking lands where like, people had like their head in their chest, like it wasn't
Oh,
on top
yeah,
of their
yeah.
head, or they only had like one leg. They all hopped around on one leg and shit like that, but their foot was like really fucking large,
Yeah.
just weird shit like that. And then like, right around that time is when they had like the maps that show fucking California as an island,
Hmm.
separated from fucking North America.
So, yeah. Yeah. It's super
And
interesting.
then all of a sudden the maps change and stuff, you know?
Tartaria, Tartaria,
Yeah.
something like that.
Grand Tartaria. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything since. I've been kind of searching ever so often that apparently near Tulum, Mexico, or somewhere in Mexico, it's not too far from Mexico City. They were
Mexico.
they were doing some digging, and like this like Art Deco, like Gothic kind of like large pillars.
Uh huh.
They're digging, and it's like, wow, this doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
None. It doesn't look Spanish at all. If
Yeah. They're probably
anything,
like Roman.
yeah, yeah, Roman, kind of Germanish.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of Gothic style of archway.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I just caught a quick clip of somebody like digging it out, starting to, and then, okay, is that a hoax?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then you got to say, like, oh, what is that? You built this other place on top of this other old place that probably nobody knew it was under there, right? How
Well,
much other shit is buried out there and why? You
yeah,
know?
you were mentioning that mud flood theory, and that
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense to me. That could happen.
Especially when you think about, yeah, like say California is an island and then all of a sudden it got flooded with a bunch of mud and shit to kind of fill in the gaps,
Yeah,
right? Like it pours in all those cracks and then eventually it just fucking goes. And now they've got that giant fault. I think the fault is probably that fucking big line,
maybe. Yeah,
right?
makes
The
sense.
San Andreas fault, maybe,
Yeah,
right? Like it would be like fucking right all the way along that where it was filled in. It's just mortar, basically, right? Holding it on there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, the only reason we even know dinosaurs were around because of that 1 in a million chance. Like the things die and uh become dust very easily.
Sure.
Books, media, all of it just gone.
Yeah.
Forget about it. You don't even know.
Stone can hold up, I mean, like the pyramids have been holding up pretty good.
But what good are they for other than living in them again?
Yeah, well, I think I don't know. That's the grand or the
Yeah,
grand question, right? Is like, why the fuck did they build them like that? Was it just to be like, oh, this needs to stand the test of time? But like, a lot of people think they're encoded with a lot of information, right?
yeah,
Right. Like, I think like if you take like the base times the width or whatever, right? It's like the exact circumference of the earth and shit like that, right? Like and like in the so-called oblique spheroid shape, kind
Yeah.
of like a pear or whatever, right? It's not perfectly round. It actually takes into account the number, like takes into account the bulge that's in the center of the earth and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of just interesting, like that kind of stuff lines up, and it's on those so-called like ley lines perfectly, right? Like that shit's kind of weird how that all lines up.
Yeah, you could put a ruler across all the monuments, and what was that one ancient? Uh, it's speculated Lemuria.
Right.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where the Bahamas is, the Bimini Ridge.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that before
A
was
portion of it anyways. Yeah.
that
They
was
think it was
raised
like
up.
huge, like it was like a giant, like, North American sized landmass or something, or Australian sized or something, like it was huge landmass that just fucking sunk.
Yeah,
And like now we've just got like those tips, kind of like, the, like you were saying there,
yeah,
different mountaintops popping out. Hawaii, shit like that, probably.
yeah. Say they even prove it though. It's not going to do us a lot of good knowing it.
Mm. Yeah. They've got one. I don't know if it's recent or if it's like an old discovery, but like there's like that island mass that sunk off of Ireland.
Mm,
Yeah, Doggerland.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, that was like a whole big, huge, large chunk of fucking land that like sunk under. And no, I don't think they know when it happened, but like they know that it did happen. So I bet you if you went down there, there'd be all kinds of fucking ruins and stuff.
Japan has that.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
temple,
some
I forget what it's called, Sakamoto Temple or something like that, out in the
in the ocean.
ocean there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
lot.
just looks like steps, right? Like perfect 90-degree angle steps all the way down.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a whole portion of Japan that's sunk into the ocean. That's in there.
Yeah. They say that's natural though. That's like science. Science says that's a natural formation. That's why.
I keep on wondering about our Great Lakes. I don't think there's anything there. I think they did map those pretty good, with the exception of Superior.
Well, no, Lake Michigan. Which one's that? Isn't that this lake? Isn't this also Lake Michigan?
No.
Is that a separate whole giant lake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
close to here though, isn't it?
Yeah. They all touch.
Because they found a like a Stonehenge kind of structure at the bottom of Lake Michigan.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We
So
should look
maybe
that up. We should look that up here and see if we can find a thing, because I know that was like very recent, like in the last, I want to say like 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Where's the Lake Michigan at Stonehenge?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So let's take a look at this here.
All right.
Oh, okay. The Michigan Stonehenge is underwater 9,000. How do they know?
Yeah, 9,000-year-old. I guess they're saying that's the last time that was dry, right? That's their guess at the last time that didn't have water down there.
Yeah. The stones will range size from basketball to a compact car. It's the ancient peoples who inhabited the area.
When it was dry land.
All right,
So
so
yeah,
let's take a look at this picture here. Okay, but what natives did that?
right. Go to the left. That one that says the unexplained. Yeah, click on that one. See if the YouTube video
Yeah, let's
might actually be all right.
we'll actually take a look at that, but let's make sure we're sharing it correctly.
There we go. We're learning.
That always
Right.
are sure to raise an eyebrow.
Oh.
The Aztec Empire and the founding of Oxford University in England
There's a-
overlapping is pretty much classic, as is pointing out that the Great Pyramids and Giza's construction happened at a time when woolly mammoths were still walking the earth. But what about the fact that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about our own oceans? While it may seem a little counterintuitive, the reasons it takes people off guard is fairly obvious. How is it even remotely possible that we know more about our moon, that humanity as a whole has only visited like a few handful of times, than about the seabed that surrounds all of us at this moment. And that is a threat to our existence. And while it might be natural to expect discoveries of all sorts of bizarre and previously unknown creatures lurking around the unexplored waters, it seems less likely to find surviving artifacts from thousands of years ago. But that's exactly what we're looking into today. We're heading over to the Great Lakes in the U.S. to visit what has become known as the Lake Michigan Stonehenge. Yes, basically Stonehenge in Lake Michigan. The Great Lakes in the U.S. are a series of 5 bodies of water that each span an enormous distance and hold an incredible amount of water.
Okay,
in fact,
so we're nowhere
they
near
are made
Michigan.
from the depression, I believe, of giant glaciers that covered the Earth during its like almost snowball period. Well, it wasn't really snowball; it was more just the ice age. But yeah, so that land is still depressed, and it's actually rising back up. So eventually, the lakes will empty. But Lake Huron and Lake Superior are both larger than Lake Michigan, but it still clocks in at over 58,000 square kilometers in size and nearly 5,000 cubic kilometers of volume. With the city of Chicago located to the south, it is the only Great Lake that doesn't span both the U.S. and Canada. Along with the other lakes, it has been the site of a huge amount of shipping trade throughout history. The tankers and bulkers that ran the Great Lakes shipping industry have worked throughout all sorts of terrible weather, keeping the economy moving and goods traveling, come hell or high water. And many have paid for it with their lives. It's actually very dangerous to do that job. Arguably the most famous wreck on the lakes was the Edmund Fitzgerald, which sank on Lake Superior on November 10th, 1975, with a loss of all hands. The mystery of exactly what caused its sinking has caused much debate over the years. The tragedy was an inspiration for the song by the same name by Gordon Lightfoot. Given the number of ships that have sunk in various places around all the lakes, there are a number of wrecks for enthusiasts to visit and explore. And Lake Michigan has plenty of its own contributions to make, like the Michigan Dogman, which if this channel ever gets up to like 1 million subscribers by 2027, because the Dogman comes out every year ending with 7, then I'll go up there and hunt the Michigan Dogman, and we'll just see if I ever come back. But anyways, this would at least partially explain why there is an underwater survey carried out there in like 2007. Given the sheer size of Lake Michigan, measuring more than 300 miles at its longest and nearly 120 miles at its widest, there is simply too much of it to ever adequately fully survey. Dr. Mark Hawley, a professor at Northwestern University, is a specialist in underwater architecture, and it was he who made this bizarre discovery while investigating an area known as the Grand Traverse Bay. Located on the west side of Lake Michigan, it was in more than 30 miles long and up to 10 miles wide, giving plenty of underwater to record and investigate. As with many other areas of the Great Lakes, it has been seen that a few shipwrecks have been down there over the years. Like, those are pretty easy to spot. In fact, actually, I went up to a place called Sarnia in Canada, and you could actually swim right above a wrecked ship that was like 30 feet below you, which is pretty interesting because the water's like crystal clear, so you can see everything, and you can actually see how high up you are. It's pretty kind of surreal, actually, if you think about it. But given its location, it arguably has more than most wrecks. And for that reason, it has become a hotspot for amateur and professional divers alike who wish to explore what is left of these sinkings. With at least 8 notable and specific ships known to have sunk and their locations are actually, known to everybody, there is plenty to explore. But Dr. Hawley's team stumbled across something entirely different. They were initially conducting a sonar survey where they essentially just mapped the floor of the lake by use of specialist equipment when they came across something that was pretty unexpected. The images that they were getting back seemed to show some rocks at the bottom of the lake. Not unusual in and of itself, but these looked as though they were arranged in a manner far too deliberate for pure chance or for nature just to, prank 'em, John, set 'em up, right? So the more they investigated, the stranger it all appeared. The rocks were arranged in a pattern much similar to the stone circles that we were all familiar with on land, trailing off in a line nearly a mile long. It had all the hallmarks of human construction and intent in its design. Right? And as they went to have a closer look below the surface, the mystery would only deepen. The rocks varied in size, none quite as big as the sheer monoliths of Stonehenge, but from as small as a ball upwards to the size of a small car. More bizarrely, there were etchings in some of the rocks, ones that had survived despite their location deep under the waters of the mighty lake,
looks like an elephant to me,
having been there for an extended period of time. Some of these etchings were thought to depict a mastodon, which is an animal that's long been extinct. While that alone was not enough to accurately date them, it was enough to merit further research.
Well, you said mastodon,
the question now became, why was there this arrangement hidden underneath the waters of Lake Michigan? Who put them there, and when had they actually done this? But kind of even more past that, what was their actual purpose? The mystery of Lake Michigan Stonehenge had begun, and given the unofficial name that it was, it seemed natural that the public would look into its more well-known namesake for answers. Stonehenge is located in Wiltshire, England, and is probably the most famous
All right,
example of a
yeah.
stone structure
Yeah.
in the world.
We've heard of Stonehenge. All right. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to go crazy on that. All right. Yeah, so that's the Michigan Stonehenge. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, so like we were saying, like, seems like there was some stuff around here before,
Yeah.
right? Like,
What-
who knows what was kicking around here, and then just like something happened. All of a sudden, it's flooded.
Yeah, smallpox. That's what happened. Disease. That's what we're led to believe.
Yeah, I mean that's an idea, but I mean, I guess if these germ theories are,
Yeah.
right or wrong, then like that's just a theory. It's like, oh, because I mean, why else would, okay, they say like, oh, okay, explorers came over, they saw 5 million fucking people in this area, huge civilization, and then they come back 100 years later and it's a ghost town, no one's around, and they're all wearing loincloths and stuff. Well, I guess one explanation is like, yeah, you brought over some chicken pox and they all died for some reason, which I always think like, okay, like maybe it would wipe some of them out, but I think like they would start to develop some immunity. I don't think it would just wipe through the entire population and kill them all, like a mystery virus. Like we're all pretty much the same. They don't have any special blood that would fucking, a virus is going to be able to be like, oh, this guy's from fucking Africa. He doesn't have,
Yeah, an armada from Spain can take care of an entire continent.
Yeah, like just because they were fucking not bathing for a couple of months and like, like they didn't show up with fucking Ebola, like there was no one on the ship that was fucking dying of Ebola, and then they came out and shook hands with them and fucking spread this thing, right? Like it's like worst case scenario. They're saying like basically like they had like smallpox somehow and brought it over, like someone didn't have the symptoms showing, but gave them blankets and it was clinging to the blankets.
A type of flu.
Yeah, and then it just wiped out the entire population. Sure, could have. Or there was a fucking meteor strike or a fucking solar flare, or,
I don't think solar flare would affect them back then,
giant
but it could have.
Why?
Yeah.
Just imagine if we had an X-class solar flare and it just, the Earth was tilted a certain way, just one way. I mean, there's all kinds of weird events in time where, like, like they're writing in their fucking logs, like, oh, the night became day for half a day or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, just weird things that like they attribute to divine intervention, right? Like, oh, God spoke to us that day. It was the sun came out and it was fucking light in the middle of the night. Weird shit is recorded like that through history. So who's to say you're in Europe or something like that, you see a giant flash that lights you up. Okay, like what if that was a solar flare on the other side of the planet? Those guys got it fucking scorched, and then the guys on the other side just get the fucking the light beam from it, and then you don't even know that they're there. And by the time you send someone over or back there, it's 100 years later, and like, trees have regrown and shit like that. But, now the people that did survive, caves and all that kind of shit, those guys are all like starting from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Theory. Not my theory, but
sorry, I need to do a quick pause.
Maybe play that clip there while you're going the germ one going again.
Yeah, it started on the.
We'll get back into these guys.
The real reason you're stiff after sitting.
You can live a very long time without getting old. My wife just turned 74. I'll turn 74 in 2 months. None of us have an artificial hip, a joint, things that we associate with getting older. My wife and I.
Scientists at Harvard just witnessed something extraordinary. During a routine study of sound frequency
works. And so this is why it's so difficult for people to come out of that, because, many people have had years, decades of just believing that and thinking that's how it actually works. And so it's believing it. So it's kind of realizing that that isn't how it works. I mean, we've had people who've said to us, well, when they used to believe in the whole germ theory, they used to get, and again, it's the language that, you know, because it's not something you get, but they exhibited the same symptoms when everyone in the office or around them would be having what's called a cold. But as soon as they lost that fear and they realized it's nothing to do with germs, that stopped happening, which I think is really interesting that people have had that experience and realized
office
that
and everyone's
not all of it, but sometimes it is that just that belief
all of a sudden
that
you start
somebody
thinking
can
like, oh, I think I'm
actually
feeling sick too,
transmit
right?
something to you.
Yeah,
And so
it's the neural
you know,
pathways in our brains that have been programmed to believe that, and everyone seems to, not everyone, I hate to be that general, but many people, most people like to travel down those same neural pathways of belief that other people can make them sick. And one of the things,
So the native
I'm kind of
Canadians
that
were
tough
just
love,
like,
tell
"You
it like it
feeling
is
sick?"
kind of person. And I say, you know, if you want to keep walking down that neural pathway and believing these
But I mean,
things
that's just a
and
theory. It's not
feeling
like there's
fearful and not
piles
taking
of
control of your
bodies
life,
or anything like
then
that, right?
that's on you.
It
But
literally
you can
would just,
develop a
oh,
new
where'd all
neural
the people go?
pathway
Oh,
by
well,
reading
one
this book,
theory is
number
that
one.
they
I
died
mean,
off
they
from
talk
disease that they
about
brought over.
everything in here, you guys. CDC, chemtrails, contrails, the WHO. There is nothing untouched. I promise you. But they can continue to do that, or they can create new neural pathways using education and information from people who did the work like you all did, and come up with a different belief system. So when 2020 rolled around, when my kid came home from school and everyone's shutting down and locking down, and I'm standing very much like I am right now working, and the kids came home and they're like, "Did you know, blah, blah, blah." And I said, okay, wash your hands and just stay home. And I'm working. About a week later, I went, this is nonsense. Not once did we wear a mask out in the world. I mean, the people telling you they hope you die and you're going to kill your grandma and all the nonsense. And I'm like, okay, whatever, moving on. But not once did any of us buy into that. And not once did any of us get sick. Right? Okay, so go back to chickenpox, because we want to end the chickenpox question as much as we possibly can. But I want to preface this to say what we just talked about. We are dealing with people's minds who are very programmed to believe that there are papers out there, that there are studies out there, that they have seen this under a microscope, right? So keeping that in mind, let's talk about chickenpox. Why the chickenpox parties? Why do so many kids get chickenpox? And
after this chickenpox thing, or maybe before that, we'll time this where we're at here, 46 minutes. But I forgot, just before this, they were going over that whole thing we were talking about, isolating a virus, the whole process of isolating and whatever. And he was going through the history of that. So that might be a good idea to go back over.
Yeah. Okay. So
we'll just keep track of where we were. I think it's saying 46 minutes, we'll say even. So if you go back about, maybe 10 minutes ago, we'll see what he was saying. But like,
right. Sometimes I call my mom and dad, my friends, and I'm like,
exchange, transmission of germs of some kind, sore throat, those kind of, runny nose, that kind of stuff. You're real, there's something bad. But no, they're detox symptoms.
He was talking.
So welcome them,
Fireman, you blame the fireman for causing the house.
That might be
it. How the body truly functions. So, these are the kinds of rabbit holes we were going down, the information we were finding. And, we just had to say, well, that can't be right. So we just kept looking and kept finding that, yes, that is correct. They are working from a number of very fundamental assumptions that were never proven.
Maybe I can.
The first time I ever heard the word toxemia was somebody had given me some labs, one of my clients many years ago, and she said, hearing about this from Amanda Vollmer, she was explaining this, and I had interviewed her a couple of years ago about it, and she said it's simply toxemia. It's cell death. It's a normal process. It's what our bodies do, and I thought, oh my gosh, so this is actually not a super scary thing. Is that correct? Like, this is what our bodies do to clean out dead cells and, free radicals and all of those types of things. So is that accurate?
Yes. Well, toxemia is the intake of toxins, as the word suggests,
Correct.
And those toxins can cause cell death. I mean, cells die in the body all the time. That's a natural process. They die and they're renewed, and the body using bacteria, and we may get onto that, what bacteria actually do in the body. They're part of the cleanup crew, if you like.
That checks
so
out.
That cells dying is a natural process in the body. But if you have an intake of toxic material, then it's going to accelerate cell death because you've taken in some poisonous material. Let's call it what it is. It's something poisonous to the body, which will cause an acceleration of cell death and can cause a proliferation of bacteria who are there to counteract and digest, if you like, and expel the excess dead material. But of course, in the early days, and I guess doctors still make that mistake, when they see in a sample of blood or tissue an excess of bacteria, they assume it's the bacteria that's causing the problem rather than the bacteria. It's like we often use the analogy of that'd be the same as blaming, whenever you see a house fire surrounded by firemen, you blame the firemen for causing the house fire rather than realizing they're there to put it out and clean it up. And bacteria do the same in the body as they do out in the forest. They break down dead material, and they do the same in the body. Not to the detriment of the body. In fact, without them doing their job, life would cease to exist. We wouldn't even be able to digest our food without the bacteria that's in our gut. So they're a very necessary part. They are not the body's enemy. Yes, they are living things, unlike these particles, which virologists see under their electron microscopes, which are just cellular debris. And, so these specks that they see on their slides under an electron microscope, it's just cellular debris. And we and many others have constantly asked that if you're going to give the name virus to these particles, then you have to prove that they actually cause disease. And this is something they've never been able to do anywhere in the world.
It's just crazy. It's crazy to me. And when you said that about the firemen, it reminded me of the first time that I found out, and chasing my bit, interview creates, it's like that
so
today.
We don't want to hear her.
Everywhere we are.
If the thing as
she does
bad
crazy
cholesterol, and therefore if the liver's
now,
making cholesterol,
what I feel very cautious of is like, oh, you do, like it's not a big deal, like just kind of saying like that. Yet people are dying of illness. So I agree with that, but I also agree with what this guy is saying that, and I'm trying to follow it, but this is what I understand so far. Say you have like the chicken pox.
Yeah, we can get back to the chicken pox, and it'll be easier for them to just explain. Well, I think what it boils down to for chicken pox for them, what they were alluding to was that basically all kids are kind of on a schedule, like a vaccine schedule. Like, oh, at 3 months you have to get this shot. At 6 months you have to get this shot. Yeah. So, when the chicken pox is kind of expressing itself is the same time when, like, say your body would start expelling toxins that it's been like collecting from these shots. And these kids are, seems like it's contagious. Oh, she must have got it from Susie, and then her friend got it, and then in the class, 10 kids in the class got it. Well, how many of those kids were all on the vaccine schedule, right? The same, they took the shot roughly the same time.
Okay.
So their body, if they're, like if they're healthy kids, whatever, they're all expelling it kind of roughly the same time, or like, a week later and whatever, it's like, it's in these weird time periods. I kind of want to get back. Maybe we should start at the beginning of this again. We can skip around a bit there, but like they talk about that experiment that we were mentioning before, like where they're coughing in their face, trying to get them sick and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Like they go over the details of that.
How do you induce that to happen?
Yeah. They never were able to prove that. That's what those whole tests, they said the name of it. I forget what it was called. Like, I think they said it was like the Rosenberg experiments. It was called something like that, but yeah, it was like literally like, there's footage of it on YouTube. I think we can find it's like black and white footage of them like fucking coughing in each other, like soldiers coughing in each other's faces, trying to make it work. Yeah. And the guy's trying to breathe in the mist of his coughs. And like, they were injecting like, all their like phlegm and stuff into each other directly.
But isn't biological warfare a thing?
Well, is it? I don't know. I mean, when's it ever been used?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. I've
It's
never seen
it's
it.
only ever been conspiracy theorized, right? It's like, oh, like, AIDS was always said to have been a possible, biological thing. I mean, anthrax is, but I mean, I don't quite know the details of kind of how that works, right? That might just be a chemical thing, really. I mean, I don't know what
a person
it is,
can
right?
be poisoned.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it's a white powder. Who knows what that refined thing is? I doubt it's.
But that's not an illness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what we're trying to discuss here and kind of break down of.
Like they tried to weaponize cancer. That was a thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And there was a woman who was working on a weaponized cancer program right around the Kennedy assassination, and she got killed. And it was a famous murder at the time because she was a famous scientist. But they found her like missing an arm, half her body burnt in her bed.
Oh,
and
suicide.
Yeah, I forget how they labeled it. It was like misadventure or some fucking crazy shit.
Misadventure.
Yeah, but I think the main theory is that like she worked for the government and she like possibly like fucked up somewhere at work, like touched a big machine that wasn't supposed to be on at the right time, and she got like her arm like fucking got severely, like just disintegrated in this thing, and she died. And then she was working on this like government project, kind of a secret, so they like fucking just like put her body back to her house, and then that was how they covered it up, just like make it seem like it was a home invasion.
Yeah,
it was a very weird murder for the time.
Yeah, the very weird murder for today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because they didn't show pictures or anything, but if you look at the picture, right, they just said, "Oh, she was killed," and they didn't discuss how she was missing an arm and whatever. But if you like look at the actual like the log, because now I think it's like, I don't know, not declassified, but it's like public, info, because it's been like 50 years since it happened. So there's like some kind of like, copyright thing or something, where you can like look up the case file and whatever. And so people have seen the pictures of her body and stuff. And like, it's just like, it looks like literally like the alien autopsy. If you've ever seen that.
I have.
Yeah. How he's like missing parts and just looks like a decayed body and whatever. That's totally what she looked like in the pictures. So it's like, it's an interesting theories. And she even has a company that she worked for signed in for picking up a package was David Ferry.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys from the Kennedy assassination. The one that was Tommy Lee Jones in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Neat.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you want to
let's go back to the beginning, and I'll just skip around. We'll go back to here because like we'll have to see where we're at here now too. 28 minutes, we'll say. I'm gonna skip past most of the stuff that they're saying. You can probably skip to 10 minutes.
Here we go.
I'm sure we can get to there.
All right. So for those of you who are new,
them just talking about their book.
I'll keep this brief because we soon started to realize that there was two camps. There was one group of doctors stroke scientists saying there was a pathogenic virus caused the AIDS syndrome. And we found, much to our shock and surprise, that there were another group of equally eminently qualified people, not least of which was Carrie Mullis, who people will know invented the PCR process, which has been misused ever since. And
added again.
Professor Peter Duesberg and Dr. Stefan Lanker, of course. So these were main players. But also saying, no, there is no virus. So this was a big shock. We thought, well, they can't both be right.
This is how
eminently qualified people
found these people.
Right. So that was the deep dive. So we had to go into great detail and why it took us 10 years of study to put that rather large tome that you've got there together, because we knew we had to be perfectly accurate. We need provable. So we had to go through the literature. So we reference people that they have aware of their own should give. I think, Lucas, 15 years ago, that's what we found out. Everything we'd been taught, everything 19. Okay. And have tracked virus.
Real quick, and I want to get to you, Dawn, in a moment, but you know what your book reminds me of? I don't know if anybody has ever heard of or read the book A Course in Miracles, where they're the two people that wrote the book, The Course in Miracles, where they have this, divine communication, and the book is just this big, right? You all came into my mind in the same way, because the amount of information that you have in this book is beyond anything that I believe any doctor has ever done to research.
That's a body
what
of
it
work
means
right
to be
there.
sick, whatever. I don't even like to say that anymore now that I know what happens in our body. I can't say it. It just feels weird to from you, Dawn. 10 years of research. You guys must really get along very well.
I mean, the TAR world, we looked at the agenda because there obviously is an agenda. And that's why it took so long, because we started looking at it was like a jigsaw puzzle, really. We tried to put as many of the pieces together in question things, but it was really interesting, so.
That's good. I'm going to read just a little piece of something, and then I've got questions that follow up. So one thing I want to say, first of all, is what you quoted in here by Herbert Shelton, NDDC, right? You said, physicians who are free with their drugging keep themselves busy treating effects of the drugs. Oh my gosh, knock me down, right? One of the things that I like to say is, diagnoses are just symptoms. I've said this for, okay.
I mean, it's probably the main cause of why people become ill. They've been basically, in simple terms, poisoned by something that they've either eaten, drunk, inhaled, or as gained ingress through their skin, started contact with the clothes, realizing him, almost killed him.
Oh yeah, the Pavarotti
now
thing,
in
you remember that?
Things, you might not look into his skin by cleaning. Anyone who'd seen, of course, but he nearly died, and they managed to save him, but they realized what it was. I mean, when anyone who'd seen him, he used to wear very flamboyant clothes, very active pianist, sweated a lot on stage, and his clothes went off for dry cleaning every day. When he wore them the next day, what they hadn't realized is the dry cleaning chemicals were soaking back into his skin and eventually were closing down both his kidneys. And that's what was killing him. But once they realized this, they managed to bring him back, and obviously, but I give that as an example of how something innocent, like you're having your clothes dry cleaned, almost killed him. Now, in lesser things, you might not be as extreme as that, but you could be poisoning yourself just by how you have your clothes cleaned. So we try to give examples of this.
And the appearance of what's called contagion is when a group of people, either a family or a class or an office, are exposed to the same kind of toxic substance. So it could be off-gassing from a new carpet, it could be cleaning, and certainly with the obsession with sanitizers and antibacterials and all of that over the last few years, so many people have just been using them more and more, and that's would be one possible explanation for a number of people within a sort of the same either household or office or whatever having similar symptoms at more or less the same time. And they think because that's the way we've been brought up that something has passed between them, but it's just because they're in a similar environment, exposed to a similar
something you don't
exposed to similar toxins
from new
and that's that's the kind of explanation. But we can't say which one it was, because there's always different combinations of toxins. So it's not just you exchange one virus for one toxin, because there are multiple toxins.
But this was the root of our research, is to look at each disease, and we talk about many of them in our book, obviously not all of them, but we looked at them
right, we remember this. Let's get to the other part here.
And so there's trace elements of pharmaceutical products and farming, agricultural products. There's all sorts of things in your water supply. So unless you're using either a distiller or in a family proof, okay, whereas
water
in all the true scientific tradition, the onus is on the people who put forward a theory. So the cause of the times over the last 100 out into the may examine these papers and publicly publish the results. And in all cases, when these papers come up, they do not prove anything. They do not prove what they say, because they always start in the wrong place. They always start with assuming that they've got a virus in their sample that they're going to put in their petri dish. And that's where the problem starts, because they say, as they do in the papers, we've isolated the virus We've got it in our petri dish, and that's where it goes wrong, because we found that the virologists distort the English language by talking about an isolation. Now, when any sensible person talks about isolation, that means to separate one thing from everything else. But when virologists talk about an isolation, they mean that what they've done in their petri dish, in their laboratory, is they've taken a supposed sample of a virus from some fluid, put it in a petri dish, and then mixed it with a number of other things, like bovine serum, blood from a baby calf, monkey kidney cells, antibiotics, and a number of other chemicals, and they call that an isolation. Well, any sensible person will say that's a cocktail. It's not an isolation.
Yeah,
and that's where it starts. That's where the problem starts.
How are you doing the test in the first place?
In the petri dish, where they've got this cocktail of chemicals and all sorts of different cells, they leave it for anything up to 5 days. And when all those cells have died, they say, well, it must be the virus that's killed them. They never stop to think, well, you've actually left the cells mixed in with a load of poisons, and you've starved them to death because you've not fed them. So the cells just die anyway. And it was Dr. Stefan Lanker, who is a trained virologist, although he has no time for them anymore because he realized that it is not a scientific procedure. So he said, well, virologists never do a control experiment. So he said, I'll do one. And obviously he was eminently suited to do that. So he did the same thing as they did, took a supposed virus sample, did the same mixture in a petri dish, but then he took a second petri dish, which is what they should be doing, calling it a controlled experiment, put all the same concoction in there, except nothing that can be considered a virus.
There was no sample from a sick person.
No sample from a sick person, but all the other chemicals are in there. Okay. Left it for the same period of time, and sure enough, all the cells died in both dishes. So this shows that the cells will die because they've been poisoned and starved. It doesn't require a virus. Okay. And so that's a proper control experiment. And he's published those on the internet, the document.
I found my passion for animals and turned it into a career as a veterinary assistant. This program gave me hands-on skills, taught me how to...
Is there, and he's done it a number of times. So it wasn't some sort of fluke. But virologists still do not do it. And they've never, ever done for the last 70 odd years that they've been
control experiment. They just, that's how they do it.
Well, practicing because I
must be killing it yet.
I found it.
They've never done control experiments. They just do what I've said and call it an isolation. Cells die, and they call that proof that viruses exist and kill cells. And that's just utter nonsense, totally unscientific, and can easily be demonstrated to be totally unscientific.
The other point to add is that cells dying doesn't equal illness, because our cells die all the time anyway. And if cell death meant illness, then we'd always be ill all the time because cells are dying all the time. So again, these are some very fundamental assumptions that are not proven, but also incorrect. It doesn't actually represent how the body truly functions. So these are the kinds of rabbit holes we were going down, the information we were finding, and we just had to say, well, that can't be right. So we just kept looking and kept finding that yes, that is correct. They are working from a number of very fundamental assumptions that were never proven.
Yeah. The first time I ever heard the word toxemia was somebody had given me some labs, one of my clients many years ago, and she said, well, they just simply said I had toxemia. And I'm like, okay. So I thought, oh, this is a medical term. This is something that only doctors can say is happening. So when I was hearing about this from Amanda Vollmer, she was, explaining this, and I had interviewed her a couple of years ago about it.
Can you
and she said it's simply toxemia. It's cell death. It's a normal process. It's what our bodies do. And
just like on the
and I thought, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Correct.
And then
wait.
An expire surrounded by firemen. You blame the firemen for causing the hell.
That's where we were before.
As we age. And then I cholesterol.
55% of its own cholesterol anyway.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's not as if the body is making it how can it be something that's bad?
They're
What's
getting into
happened is
cholesterol
that
and
the
fat.
experiments that started off the whole idea that there's such a thing as bad cholesterol is the fact that it was oxidized. And LDL cholesterol apparently is supposed to be easier to oxidize than HDL. And that's what, because it was oxidized and there were problems, that's why it was classified as bad, as the bad cholesterol. But yes, our bodies need cholesterol. And if we haven't got enough, the liver will make, and therefore if the liver's making cholesterol, it cannot be bad. And again, it's this whole thing with levels, and they change all the time depending on how many new drugs that the pharmaceutical industry want to push. And so it's just all finding different ways, as you say, of scaring people into thinking, that they're, this bit's wrong with them or that bit's wrong with them, and thinking that, and also making us think that symptoms are bad, which goes back to what you were saying before, that the detox symptoms, that,
pause
like
for a
sneezing.
as a thought. I think in this vein too, like she's just kind of saying like, we think one size fits all, like it has to be this, therefore I think that it's kind of that way with food too. There was a couple of guys that ate only beef for like 6 years straight, and proved that you can get all your vitamins from just beef.
Yeah,
like
the carnivore guys.
Yeah, like, and that when you're choosing your food, you're overthinking a bit too much.
Yeah.
Think about, like, you need to eat healthy stuff. Like,
Well, if the animal is eating healthy and you're eating the animal, that's
Yeah.
the idea, right? Like,
yeah, you're absorbing everything.
yeah, it's getting all the vitamins, and then you're eating it, and so you're getting all its power. That's it.
Yeah.
Like one of those guys, that's the carnivore guy that's been eating that for like 6 years. That he's like a doctor.
Yeah.
So like he tests his blood all the time and fucking, like he's on it.
Yeah, and
he's like,
it's
I'm
fine.
super healthy, and he like looks like fucking jacked. He's like, I don't fucking do anything special. Gotta do some sit-ups and push-ups and fucking, do some walking around the block and whatever, but like I'm not like running marathons and shit. He's like, but all his muscles just look fucking ripped and whatever, right? Because it's like lean.
Yeah.
Right? His body's just using burning fat and fucking all the stuff it needs to, right? As opposed to like storing fat away, because I need that for later, right? It's burning everything like a keto machine. He's on like ketogenesis, like probably constantly, right? Because there's like no sugar.
True.
Yeah.
True. But then there are some things like, I know if you are vitamin K deficient, you'll throw up blood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like a thing. So like you can be lacking vitamins,
Sure.
but I do think we do overthink of like, I need, you can't eat Mr. Noodles all the time,
right? But like I was saying, like he's that dude particularly, he's a doctor, and he tests his blood for like all those vitamins and shit like that, right? Because he wanted to know, like if I'm just eating meat, I don't want to fucking be low on vitamin K or whatever. And that's what he was finding. Like I'm getting all the vitamins I need like perfectly through eating meat.
Yeah.
Like, they've got all the ones you need. And I think he said I can't remember what his deal was, if he was like eating eggs or something like that to kind of offset and get a couple things that you weren't able to get from beef. But I think he said like 90% of his diet is just steaks. It's all he eats is fucking, and I think he might only eat once a day too. So he's like, I basically just eat like, 2 8-ounce steaks for dinner. And then like, maybe some eggs or something like that. Like if he needs a snack kind of in between.
Still natural though. Like, myself, speaking from my experience, I did like a good month of eating like a lot of ramen, just because I was an idiot and young and on my own.
The opposite diet.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna just live on fucking noodles.
And that didn't go well.
Yeah,
I felt the effects of it.
Yeah, you can't not.
I've gone through a period of time in my life without vegetables.
Interesting.
It was just like hard living.
Yeah,
and quite a few months of just like barely having anything. And at those times, admittingly once was like food bank. And well, like food bank, it's only non-perishables.
Right.
So you get like noodles and like a jar of teriyaki sauce.
It's
like,
just stuff to keep you alive, basically,
yeah, like,
right?
what am I going to do with this? But you have to make it work, right?
Yeah.
And during those times, I felt worse. Like I like cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that makes sense. And when I finally did get some vegetables, like I enjoyed them so much more. My body felt a lot better.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I bet it's like, finally. Were you taking vitamins or anything?
No, just trying to survive,
Mm-hmm.
you know, doing what I needed to. Now when like it's try to survive mode, it's like salads. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Get ahead of the curve. Buy vegetables when you can. Dry them out if you need to.
Yeah. Now you got the space you can grow, right? Garden and stuff.
Oh, we do that a lot.
Yeah. I had some of your stuff there.
Yeah. I just don't dehydrate it as much as I should.
Yeah.
Just
or
so
can.
That, like, yeah.
Can it learn to do that in mason jars and stuff, eh? People do like fucking salted meats and all kinds of stuff in there that'll last like, apparently it's forever. Like people are like, oh, you could put it in there for like 20 years, you know, and like fucking open it up and it's like basically good if it's cured and salted and whatever.
That may be true, like edible, and your body will pass it. But like what this guy is saying, when you have like that vinegar in your system, it's that's a poison. That's a poison in your system, and your body's going to react to it. Like it might be okay. I'm just going to pass it through, but that'll make the symptoms later. It might spur on an illness of some kind, of common cold,
right,
or something like that. So I don't know if I believe them. Well, I should. Like they're doctors, right?
Who?
These guys?
No. They said at the beginning they're not.
Oh, so
she's
an
accountant.
Believing?
She's an accountant.
Okay.
He's an electrical engineer.
And we're just believing them?
Well, yeah, we're just believing that that's what the book is about. I don't know that I believe any of it. I just think it's an interesting theory.
Oh, yeah, it's worth listening to.
I mean, you saw the size of that fucking book.
Yeah.
And they said like the whole 1/3 of that book or the end of it is all just the references. So when they're like, oh, you know, like there's never been an isolation or whatever, here's our references for that. Like, you know, or like, you know, this is how they, you know, the concoctions they use. Here's the fucking references for that. Right. So it's not just shit they're talking about. They like, you can go follow it up and be like, oh shit, they're right. You know?
Yeah. They're backing it up. With something.
And that was their whole point, is that, and why they said they spent 10 years working on this book.
Oh yeah.
Because like, they're like, it just started off as like they were working on another book that was like kind of like a theory of reality, kind of like everything is a hologram or whatever, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you know, new age spacey kind of thing. And in it they had a chapter on viruses and what makes you sick and how that works spiritually and whatever. So they're like, oh well, like we wanted to do more research on that. So like they started with like, oh, we'll just a couple of the heavy hitters or whatever. And I think they tried to go in with HIV because that was like kind of bigger at the time. And that's what they were saying, like, oh, like it turned out that like basically it didn't seem like that it was a real virus.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, well, if that's not real, what else? Right. And so they like every time we started looking into it more, it's like, this might not be a fucking real thing. And then they just kept looking and looking. And then like, okay, maybe we need to do a book on just this and like dig into this. And then they're like, sure enough, they're like, they say they've isolated it. It's never been isolated, or like the thing they use for isolating is like a fucking flawed system. Right.
Yeah. And that just kind of starts leaning into, well, I can't subscribe to it, but like the extreme religious fanatics,
right?
I know there is some Christian sex.
Oh, they have to have sex at some point.
Yeah, some Christian groups where their whole thing is they will never go into surgery.
Never.
Yeah,
that's the Jehovah's.
Yeah,
Jehovah's specifically. I think like my uncle is very religious and like on the culty side.
Very Jehovah?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, just religious. But yeah, it's
religious. Which one?
I don't know, like Seventh-day Adventist or something like that. Like
so Jesus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Full on, like the given to the church. Like he gives 10% of his money to the church and all that kind of stuff.
I still want to meet those people of other religions.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, like,
but he's just like recently had heart surgery.
and was he kind of like shunned in his community or
no? They're all helping him out, like sending him food and
But he's not supposed to in his group.
No, he's supposed. That's what I'm saying. Like he's extremely religious. I don't think there's any like Christian sects that don't allow surgery. It's the Jehovah's and stuff who aren't necessarily. I guess they're Christians, are they?
I think I'm boiling it down to just believe in Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know what the Oh shit.
Oh no, that's cool.
I don't know what the definition of a Christian is. Technically,
one of the monkeys had a wife that died that way because of her religious beliefs.
You mean the band, the Monkees?
Yes.
There's a number of reasons.
Oops. And
that's interesting.
The singer of Tool, Maynard James Keenan, his mother died because no surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, it could have been a simple surgery, but no, I'm gonna suffer with my illness until the last day.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe it is. I mean, I would really have to look into it. But I mean, any churches that I've kind of known, I mean, I've been in a few different churches that are like more on the Catholic side, and they've always been into surgery. People have always had surgeries, and then people are like, making food and bringing it to them and all that kind of stuff. Helping them out.
Rastafarian.
Yeah, that'd be one.
That'd possibly be one. That's how Bob Marley died, apparently.
Right.
He had cancer on his foot, but they're
right.
It's part of why they have dreadlocks. Is blade must never touch their body.
Oh wow.
So that's the no surgery.
Interesting. So they don't even cut their hair; they just turn them into dreadlocks.
Right.
Wow.
That's the reason behind that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Same with like Sikhs. And that it's all up in the turban because a blade must never, so that it might be in there. I don't know. I haven't seen if there's Indian religions,
interesting,
Indian or Pakistani or whatever that are just like no surgery, no blades are allowed to touch your body.
I'm sure. That I guess there must be a few, but then we know some do. Those extreme ones, right? Like John of God. Right, he was using knives and fucking doing some surgery.
He's doing surgery plus
psychic surgeries, yeah.
But
surgery plus.
There has been some success in that. I forget in what way. It was like surgeries that were able to be done if a person is like hypnotized or something like that. Like you don't need anesthetic necessarily.
Right.
It's like you can have like just shut their brain off in some kind of way, and like even anesthetic, they're like that's still mysterious. They don't understand exactly how it works. They just know that it hypnotizes the pathways in your brain, so you're just you're out.
Well, I mean, if we're thinking
works.
If we're thinking like placebo and nocebo, this shit like works because your brain is so powerful that like, you're thinking, oh wow, I'm taking a pill and it's fixing my body, and then your body's fixing itself because you're thinking it, or vice versa. You're thinking like, oh my God, I'm getting poisoned from this, and then your body starts to feel sick and sluggish and whatever. Then like, your body's got to have some fucking extreme powers, to be able to just fucking like will itself to heal.
Well, an easy one for me to admit to, like a daily medication I have to take is blood pressure.
Oh, okay.
So I'm taking that pill into my body daily, and whatever that chemical is telling my blood, stay a little thinner, or like don't raise the pressure.
Okay.
Keeps the pressure. However it does that, I think it's magic. That's as far as I know.
Right.
Doctor said to do it. I have the machine. I see the difference. Was this, now this. No danger for stroke. Yay.
Right.
But did it come from a flower? I don't know. I just know it works. I have a machine that told me, and so I got to trust all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Working at it, but do I have an illness? Do I have a disease? Can I will myself? Can I heal myself out of it?
Right.
When I said to the doctor, okay, I fixed my life and, I'm on the path, I'm exercising, I'm doing the things that I have to do. I want off them. I don't want to take pills. I hate it.
Yeah.
Don't want to take any of them. Maybe for these reasons. And he said, okay, so if that's the case, then when I take your blood pressure, you'd be dangerously low. So that's when I see that you're dangerously low, then I'll take you off of them.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So yeah, because if he takes me off them and I spike back up and have a stroke, then bad problem. Yeah.
Okay.
The family illness. I have a cousin who's not much older than I am, just by a couple of years, and has had a stroke many years ago.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shit scares me now. Especially since, I fucking had that incident where I passed out, where I was going to the bathroom at night.
And that's a good one.
The doctor told me, I guess it's pretty common for people. It's a low blood sugar thing, I think.
Oh,
I think that's what he was saying. He was like, basically, it's pretty common for when people go to the bathroom, it trying to pee triggers this low blood sugar, because you just all of a sudden you start urinating, and all of a sudden you have a quick drop in blood sugar, and it can cause you to kind of get fainty if you've been sleeping,
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, so that's what happened to me, but it's happened 2 times, over the course of a year now, and where I was the first time I was kind of drunk, so I thought that that's what it was related to, and I had slept on my arm. So it was my arm was all numb, and then I went to the bathroom kind of a little bit drunk still, and I was kind of felt it still, right? But I was oh man, my arm is just fucking really tingly and whatever, right, from sleeping on it. And I was trying to get the fucking blood flowing back in it while I was peeing. And then all of a sudden I started getting dizzy, oh my God, I think I'm gonna fucking pass out. And then I just woke up on the floor. And then so I chalked it up to that. And then the second time, I hadn't been drinking at all. And I had a weird dream that I had a fucking blood clot, a dream. And then I woke up and I was that was fucking weird. And I was checking my legs for where I had the dream, and nothing was there. And I was that's weird. So I got up to go to the bathroom, and then I fucking was oh my God, I feel I'm going to black out. And then I woke up fucking halfway hanging down the stairs. I almost fell down the stairs. Yeah, it was wild.
Wow.
But yeah, the doctor was yeah, apparently he's that's I explained it to him, and he was yeah, that's kind of a common thing. People get a low blood sugar when they it triggers it when you go to the bathroom.
So one thing that was kind of similar that happened to me is many years, not too many years ago, where I lived before here. I was just playing my bass guitar, just having fun before going in for a shift of work, and I got up to do something. I forget what, but I passed out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hit the floor, and then just kind of woke up, and I had the angels singing in my ears, and just visions all weird, and oh, what happened with that? And then I was feeling super off.
Yeah.
And I went into the bathroom to look at my face. My skin was gray.
Oh no.
It looked alarming.
Yeah.
And then I started sweating profusely, where it felt like my pores were forcefully opening up throwing a bunch of sweat out and closing back up, almost cartoony.
Sure.
And then I got scared and went to emergency right away. And I ended up seeing a really old bitch who was just like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, yo, I don't know. Like, these are the things that have happened.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned right now.
Like, what could it be? Any ideas?
She took my blood pressure and went, your blood pressure's fine. Go to your family doctor. Don't bother me.
Really?
Yeah. It was like that. Like, fuck. So I went.
How long did you wait to get there?
A long time.
Yeah.
So
like 6 hours or some shit, right?
Yeah. And then that luckily was like early in the day. So I still got into the family doctor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he just ruled it as a panic attack.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, but I was playing bass guitar. I was feeling great.
Yeah.
I just got up for a second.
That's what. Did he test you? Did he put you through any tests or anything?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my doctor, like, after he was like, I was like, oh yeah, and he's like, yeah, I think it's probably just this blood sugar thing. It's pretty common for people, and he's like, especially if it happened to you twice, right? Like, you were at the bathroom both times when it happened, right?
Yeah.
So he checked my blood pressure. He's like, oh, everything's fine, and he's like, well, I'll send you down, go get your blood tested. We'll check all that. And then he had me get an ECG. So they hooked up, checked my heart, make sure it was like, beating properly and whatever. And I didn't follow up yet with him, but like, he never called me. It's been like a couple weeks already. And like, that shit only takes like 2 or 3 days to get the results. So
yeah. What makes sense about your situation is like, what if like your body still registers the sugar amount if it's in your bladder? It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like, I'm here, sugar.
Right.
And then
all of a sudden it's gone.
When it's gone, there's like that sudden drop before your body has to like organize and balance it out.
I have noticed though that like I've got some sort of weird thing with like panic attacks. Like I kind of have that sort of thing. Like one time I half blacked out while I was driving. And basically I was like driving along and like I had this thing where it was like in my tooth all day where I felt like I had something that was like, like just stuck in my tooth, right? I was like, oh, I'm like trying to get this out. I'm driving along and I fucking popped it out and it was like my fucking filling and my whole like fucking inside of my filling popped out and I was like, I could feel the hole in my tooth. And like it kind of was like sensitive, right? Like you touch it, I could like feel the nerve. While I was driving and I was like, oh my God. And I was like starting to freak out about it. And then I could touch it and kind of feel the pain of it. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then like I started getting like fucking lightheaded and shit. And I was like, what the fuck? So I started pulling over and then I like blacked out and I woke up and I was like almost touching the back of a fucking truck.
Wow.
I never even got it into park though. My foot luckily fucking put on the brakes enough that I woke up from a blackout and like didn't fucking hit the truck. I was like, oh, and I like luckily fucking put my brakes on enough. Like, yeah, it was quite freaky.
Hopefully alone in your vehicle.
Yes, I was, or somebody, probably someone could have done something. Probably screamed.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
I mean, what are they going to do? They can't go over and put their foot down and fucking slam on my brake while I'm driving, right? Like all they could do is steer me so I don't hit the fucking truck, right? But
throw the e-brake on.
I guess, yeah, maybe, hey?
Toss it neutral.
Yeah, that's true.
Neutral will help it out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, actually, I probably wouldn't think of that. Like freaking out and say, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Trying to turn the car off.
I'd probably hit neutral on accident.
Yeah.
just freaking out. Yeah.
I might have even done that. I just remember I was like starting to feel like I'm kind of getting lightheaded and I was like, I got to pull the fuck over. And luckily there was one of those like truck pullovers like right there. So so I like pulled off and I had lots of, it wasn't just the side of the highway. It was like a full pullover area. So a truck was already pulled over there and I was like blacking out. And then I woke up and I was like, like inches from his bumper with my foot on the brake. And I was like, I can't believe I stopped. Oh my God.
Blacking out is the same as playing dead.
Yeah.
Like if you think of it, like your body just registered like, injury, shut off.
Yeah.
And
I guess that's why I was like, fuck, like what?
I relate to that hard.
That's what triggered it, right? And like I've had a couple, when I've got needles and whatever, I've fainted from that shit too, right? Like it's just like it's in my head, and I'm like, oh no, and then I can feel it coming. But I guess that must be a blood sugar thing, because like I it's 50-50. Well, not 50-50. I told Lee I just went and got that blood work done for this, and I was like, oh, just a heads up. Like I'd say like, out of 10 times, I probably faint 2, getting my blood done. So I was like, I don't know. That's like a 20% chance or something like that. So she's like, oh, okay, well, I'll keep an eye on you. And so I just was like trying to breathe, like deep breaths. And I mean, I was expecting that I was going to do blood work. So I didn't eat, like I'd been fasting basically. Like since nighttime, since that all shit all happened, I didn't eat breakfast or drink anything. So, I mean, I should have been low blood sugar, I think, if that's a trigger. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
For the blood sugar, because I wanted to cover those bases. For myself, when I did blood pressure, I also got the diabetes machine, because my work has health spending account.
Right. Yeah. Like a glucose monitor.
Yeah. So I got that on the ready. Like sometimes I'll just test just to see.
Wow. Fuck. That's cool.
Yeah. See where my sugar's at, and like I'll record it on my phone if I do that, so the information's there. I should probably just do it every day and then like hand it all over to the doctor. I have this.
Yeah. I did your work for you, just so you know.
Yeah.
You could just fucking keep track of it and then throw it into ChatGPT, kind of run through it and be like, how's this look?
Yeah. Yeah. A constant ChatGPT health monitor.
Yeah. Well, I think now it remembers your stuff, right? So you can like, you bring up, it archives your chat. So you can just open your old chat. It'll have like a history of what you just went through, and then that kind of saves it. So you can like get back into the conversation, be like, okay, here's the last 15 posts that I made. Here's today's, what's your diagnosis or whatever. Right. And they can come up with some stuff.
You just came up with your $1 million idea right there. Nobody has come up with that. They've come out with relationship AI chatbots before a paradoctor.
Right.
Someone just to like bound, and like you think the medical profession would get behind it because they have telehealth, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't bother us with every little thing. To have like your chatbot, like, oh my God, I have a red spot on my arm. What could it be? Like, okay, let's go through the checklist. AI's perfect for that.
Yeah. Oh, totally. People are already using it. I mean, I remember that when it was first coming out, like ChatGPT 2, people were like, putting symptoms and fucking all that shit in there. And it was like, it sounds like you've got lupus, and they were like, holy shit. I went to their doctor and they're like, oh, well, I could check you for it. And then they're like, oh, turns out you got it.
I know nowadays, like it'll no matter what you say to it, it goes, best to check with your doctor. Could be this or this, but check with your doctor.
You know what's funny? I put in this thing, and it, sometimes it gives you the 2 answers, and it's like, which do you prefer? And I asked it a question. It was about health products, and I wanted to know, just like, like what are just some natural products you can use for detoxing of parasites. And so, it gave me 2 answers. It's like, which one do you prefer? One gave me a list of answers, like, oh, here. But it prefaced it by this huge warning. But I must tell you that all of this is just like unproven and made up, and whatever. And so it gave me this huge spiel and wouldn't even give me an answer. I had to be like, how about you just give me that answer, but give me an actual answer this time? It's like, got it. You want answers, not a lecture. Here, here's a list. And it gave me a list. But the second one was let me choose which answer I like. The second answer said like, due to the nature of this question, I cannot in good conscience give you an answer because it's completely unproven science and vitamins don't work, basically. It's like, I was like, I think I prefer the other answer.
Yeah. I always like the natural answers. And I saw a good, I was reminded of it. And this is something I've heard before too. Garlic and honey.
Right.
mix those together, keep it in a jar, burp it once a week because it's going to create a gas in there.
Really?
Then you have antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, like honey.
Yeah. Oh, I know honey.
Plus,
I know honey for sure.
Garlic. Though garlic is amazing
Yeah,
for you.
it's wild how good garlic is.
Well, it's good for blood pressure. Lowers your blood pressure.
Right.
Lowers inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Super good for you.
Yeah, antibacterial, right?
Yeah. Well, it's super antibacterial. Yeah, I've seen that under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other recipes was it rosemary, thyme, and apple cider vinegar.
Oh,
all together, and that's another like cleaning, antimicrobial, natural.
For cleaning things.
Yeah, apple cider vinegar. Like I'm sure you can drink that.
Oh, I drink it all the time. Yeah.
But like rosemary and thyme in it as well.
Yeah, I just have straight apple cider vinegar.
That would be like Thanksgiving in a glass. It might be okay.
A little parsley to go with that sage, rosemary.
Yeah,
thyme.
a little bit of cranberry would be healthy for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I've been thinking kind of about doing like a turmeric thing, or a curcumin or one of those that's like.
I do.
I forget which one it is, but like it like cleans out your blood. It's supposed to clean out your veins. Helps like unclog them and shit.
Well, you remember I do my daily orange juice. I make my own orange juice.
Yeah, right. And you put, what is it?
Turmeric, carrot, ginger, apples, and oranges.
Wow. And it's all fresh juice you make?
Yeah. I make it fresh. We just buy the whole fruit.
Yeah.
And chop it up to get all the rinds off and stuff.
Yeah.
And then juicer.
You got a good juicer?
I got an alright juicer.
Yeah.
It's an okay one.
It's not like a Ninja or something?
No. Breville.
Okay.
Yeah. It went for mid-tier.
Okay.
Not the best, not the worst.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's we've been doing it every week.
Wow.
Every single week. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I just if I were to do it again, I would choose different containers.
Mm-hmm.
We used spice containers as like here's your like daily dose.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because it separates.
Yeah.
Now I kind of wonder if I took the water out and then that concentrated like bottom, like what if I concentrate it? Like you get a super shot of vitamin all at once.
Yeah, totally.
Although I think your body would just pee it out, anything excess, right?
Well, that is an idea, but I don't know if that's really the case. I mean, they say that's just what you would do, but I don't know. You might absorb it differently.
Yeah.
You think about those IVs that you take that are like 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C or something, like.
Yeah.
And you're only taking like 100 of that, like the rest is getting urinated out. I don't know. Sounds like it does a lot of good things for people that take it,
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's all right. I like it. And we do make sure we add the turmeric in there as well. It gives a earthy kind of flavor to it.
I've seen a couple places in town, like wellness centers. I haven't checked recently, but like a year or so ago, it was like you could go in and get a vitamin C drip. And it was like $113, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that might be an idea for like a once a month kind of fucking treatment. You go in just like once a month, go get a vitamin C fucking infusion.
Yeah, like the Hollywood stars.
Yeah.
I do my drugs by IV. Yeah. That's how hardcore I am.
Exactly.
Ooh. Yeah, that's kind of killer.
Yeah.
Well,
look into it.
Yeah, but
let's get back to this fucker.
Some of which you've just touched on. The people are probably familiar with the placebo effect, where people believe they've had a really good medication, and it's the pharmaceutical companies use this in their drug trials, where there's one group gets a placebo, which is little more than a sugar pill. The other group gets their new drug, so that it can. And quite often, the people having the placebo, which is not, as I say, nothing more than some sort of sugar pill, it has no pharmacological content, will still exhibit the symptoms of whatever the disease is they think they're taking it for. This has been proved time and time again. So Uncle Bob gets sick and a number of other people think, oh, there's something going round, we get this with the office cold, and people generate their own symptoms. They believe it, and it now give it its correct term. It's called the nocebo effect, which is the opposite to the placebo effect. So it causes harms because you believe it's going to happen to you, so it does happen. These are real things, and again, we explain some of this stuff. So that's one thing, and of course, the other thing is that a group of the people could have come into contact with something toxic. There are such things as food, known as food poisoning. Something in whatever it was they were eating or drinking has set off their symptoms, poisoned their system. It could be what they've drunk, or it could be the alcohol. Some have drunk alcohol, some haven't. There can be a number of reasons, and we've looked at, we get this a lot. But always, people have to go back to basics, which is, has anyone proved a germ can cause these symptoms? It's as simple as that. What you have to go back to, has anyone anywhere in the world over the last 100 years proved that either a bacterium or a so-called virus, or
it was a wine company that came up with the idea that it was good for
anything, is the cause of these so-called disease symptoms, and that's never happened. And that must tell people something. So we always say to people, well, if a group of people have got sick, first eliminate the idea that it's a germ, because that's never been proven. Okay, so then you have to look as to what could be the cause. And we can only, from our point of view, give suggestions of what we've seen happen. But of course, we don't know what was going off in the environment at Uncle Bob's dinner party. There could have been, they could live near farmland, and this often happens, and the farmers spraying, and you get drift from the pesticides, stroke insecticides, stroke fertilizers that get sprayed on farmland and can drift across. It can drift for quite a long distance. Some people may inhale it. Some people may have ingested it because it's settled out on their salad. So there's all sorts of ways. So some get it, others don't. There are many, many different reasons. But the one thing we are always certain of, it's not a germ, because someone would have been able to prove that over the last 100 years, and they haven't. So we know that it's something else, and it's generally toxic material of one sort or another.
Or it could, as you say, being holiday get-togethers, people are eating, more sort of richer food or sweeter food, or, these treats or whatever, that
children or poison, nice problems, virus or bacteria material.
This, glyphosate, all the things, and our bodies just keep filling up with these things.
Felt like I've had
right, because most people don't understand.
I know, it's wild.
How important it is to eat an anti-inflammatory food plan, get away from all the things. And would you say it's fair to say that, let's say this is a little child's body, right, and the child is vaccine injured potentially, and we do say the word vaccine on here because this is my private community, but vaccine injured. Maybe there's some conflict in the parent's home, so the stomach acid is a little bit low from stress. All kinds of things, right? Got the
that's all questions, and they say, actually, I don't remember. But I mean, I know from my own experience that kids don't always get ill. It just doesn't always happen because it kind of kids get together and like you say, the parents say, oh, there's a party, chicken pox is going around, go and get it.
Yeah.
So it is a psychological aspect. It is that nocebo. Again, even just the simple so-called cold of, oh, don't sneeze on me, I don't want your germs. It's just inbuilt into our language, and so it is absolutely kind of just such a basic kind of thought process that you don't realize it's actually a belief system and not how the body actually works. And so this is why it's so difficult for people to come out of that, because many people have had years, decades of just believing that and believing
and I say, well, if you want to keep walking down that neural pathway, do that, or they can create wash your hands, and people get want to prep studies out. Why do so many kids get chicken pox and nobody talks about the ones who don't?
Well, let's just think about it. The skin is the largest organ of the body. Okay, so when the body wants to detox, it's quite often it will use the skin to push toxins out. And of course, when it pushes toxins out through the skin, you can end up with blisters and spots and rashes of one sort or another.
Ads are starting.
You know you're capable of more. You can feel it. There's a version of you that thinks faster, solves problems easier, and makes decisions without.
But of course, the medical establishment doesn't understand that.
Robot.
So they give, depending on what the blisters look like, what the rash looks like or whatever, they give it a name.
I do kind of think
well,
that
that's scarlet
rashes
fever,
come
that's
from inside out
chickenpox, that's
sometimes.
measles, that's whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
But all it is the body is pushing toxic material out through the skin. So that's a natural process. And let it do it, because that's what it wants to do. It wants to get rid of the toxins. Now, young children, we've already talked about them if they've been to a party and they've intaken all of this toxic stuff with their cakes and sweets. Children of a certain age are usually at the same party, aren't they? 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, there's not great age difference. Now, children of those sorts of ages that go to parties, as well as taking in all of that toxic intake, will also probably, their parents will have had them vaccinated, okay, with probably by that time a number of vaccines, because they start vaccinating children, when they're barely out of the womb, don't they? They're sort of sticking stuff into them. So they'll start to detox those substances at around about the same age. So you can get groups of children who would exhibit skin eruptions and other feverish conditions around the same sort of age because they've been poisoned around the same sort of age. Okay. So and then that gets labeled childhood diseases. Okay. But and one of the things, of course, it was measles, wasn't it, that Dr. Stefan Lanka, who we mentioned earlier, some years ago, challenged the medical establishment to prove,
I never knew anybody who had the measles.
That a virus caused measles. Okay. Long story short, there were 2 court cases.
Isn't that one where your neck
it went to the Supreme Court in
up?
Germany, and the medical establishment, because he offered 100,000 euros, so a considerable amount of money, if they could, any doctor, anyone could prove that measles caused, that a virus caused measles. And they thought they could, of course, and they produced a number of papers. But as we know, none of those papers actually proved that a virus caused measles. And so the medical establishment lost their case. And to this day, no one has been able to prove that a virus caused measles. Okay. Because we know it doesn't. And those symptoms which get caused.
Yeah, no, that's the one that was in the news,
by
right?
all of the things we've just been talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
But the interesting thing was, that all happened
anti-vaccine, and then a research.
That's right.
But about a year after that court case in the Supreme Court in Germany, the German government still mandated that all school children should be vaccinated against measles. Now, that just shows that there is a different agenda going on, doesn't there? Which governments are not working. And then they tell us, we're just following the science. Well, obviously not. Not only are you not following the science, you're not also not following your own Supreme Court rulings. So, and all of these things led us to, which we investigate in the book, what that agenda is, the 2020, 2030 agenda, and of course the follow the money type thing, who benefits. And that's really what it's all about. It's certainly nothing to do with science, and that can easily be shown. And anyone who reads through our book will see that there is no scientific proof for any of the things that they do, certainly whether it's vaccinations or giving people drugs. We challenge anyone in the pharmaceutical industry or medical industry to prove that any of their pharmaceutical products cure anything. They may suppress symptoms, we'll agree with that, but they don't cure anything. And of course, the so-called side effects from drugs actually cause many more symptoms than the patient had in the first place, and some of them quite serious, as we've seen with the whole COVID thing. Some of the things that are given to people, certainly that they're injected with, are having serious, very serious consequences. But if we can go into that if you wish.
Died of heart complications.
No, let's go into that. We have 3 questions, but I want to stay here for a moment, and I want you to go into that. Let's go into that, because that is the #1 thing that led me to you all and changed my life forever and what I believe about illness.
Heart rate going.
run with
We're
it.
getting
We
that
can say
market
anything we
out of
want.
Okay. Well, with vaccinations, which is quite an important thing, obviously we had to investigate not only the ingredients that are in vaccinations, but do they actually work? Are they safe? Are they effective? Basically, the short answer is no, they are neither safe nor effective. So that's the takeaway for people. There is no such thing as a safe and effective vaccination. And that includes the latest ones that people have been having for so-called COVID, again, which has never been proven to exist. And of course, their own medical records, whether it's the yellow card system in the UK or the VERS system, I think, which is in America, and there's another system. These are all official systems, another one in Europe. Now, all of those figures, that we'll just talk about the UK one, the yellow card system, which is a government-run thing where doctors are supposed to fill it in if their patients exhibit either adverse effects to the vaccination, the COVID vaccination, or in dire circumstances where they've actually died from the vaccination or the jab, to give it its correct name. Now, and the doctors are supposed to fill that in. Now, we know that only about maybe 3% of doctors actually bother to fill them in. But even with such a low percentage of filling these forms in the UK, there's at least very nearly now 2,500 people that have died from the vaccination, and something like 500,000 who've had very serious effects from the vaccination. And this is doctors' own records on the government's own system. Now, that begs the question,
worldwide,
why is that vaccination still being given to people? Because in a few years ago, if any drug had killed maybe 3 or 4 people, it would have been removed from the market. And yet with our government, the UK government's own figures, over 2,500 people have died from that drug.
That's
and
really
yet they're
not
still
that
telling
many.
us it's safe and effective.
Worldwide,
Now that again tells you that there's
2,500, that's just in
let's
the
call
UK,
it what it
he's
is,
saying.
criminal activity going on.
Yeah,
because
that sounds like
people are dying,
a better number.
and they can't get any more serious than that. People are dying. So that's one thing.
I thought in America
we found,
like 20,
not all
20,000 or something
vaccinations
like
kill
that,
people,
like
but
a
many
lot.
of them maim people or give them long-term illness. So, but we didn't leave it there. We had to look at, could there be such a thing as a drug or a vaccine that could do what they say, which is to boost the immune system of the body. Okay, so what we're told is that when you have your vaccination, it induces the body to produce what the medical system calls antibodies. Now, these are just proteins, but what they tell us is that these are specific proteins which recognize the virus or the bacteria, and then they float around in your body until such a time in the future this horrible germ attacks your body, and these antibodies then recognize it, swoop in and devour it. And that's what's supposed to happen. Never been any scientific proof that does happen, of course, but that doesn't seem to bother because obviously the pharmaceutical companies make billions out of these vaccines. Okay, so that doesn't worry them that there's no scientific proof. So then we thought, well, okay, so let's have a look at this, what we found out to be this mythical immune system. And the body, and people may be surprised, the body does not have an immune system in the way that we're told. The body does have a repair and maintenance system, but that's not the same thing at all. The body can protect itself perfectly well. It recognizes if toxic material enters its body, and it will do its best to expel it, as we've said, through vomiting, diarrhea, skin eruptions, all of the rest of it. But there's no way it has an immune system that, in the way that they say, where the body will produce specific antibodies, specific proteins. Let's tell them what they are.
Another ad starting.
Are you aware that you can hold physical gold and silver inside a registered retirement account?
What?
Proteins that recognize a germ, because the body's intelligent enough to know, one is bacteria are not its enemy, they're vital, and that these particles called viruses are not living things anyway, so if you wipe them on your skin or inhale them, it's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. So the body wouldn't need an immune system. Yes, if it gets damaged, it can repair itself. And we see that, if you cut your hand or your leg, it sends in proteins, which are called globulins, and that's the sticky proteins which sort of form scabs until the body heals. So it can do all of these wonderful things. It's an amazing thing, the body.
How come
But
sometimes
it doesn't
I can
have
get a
this
scab,
mythical
but
immune
other times
system.
I can get a scab with pus underneath?
But of course, the medical system needs to
Right?
keep that myth
Yeah.
going, because if people
Kinda opposite
realize
to
the
what
body
he's
doesn't have an
saying.
immune system, it begs
Yeah,
the question,
maybe.
well, what do
I
we
guess
need
so
vaccines
those are
for?
the kind of things
Well,
you'd
quite
be
right.
interested
What
to
do we
write
need
down and
vaccines
then
for?
see
We
if you
don't.
can
I'd wondered if we were going to go there, because that was one of the things I was like, oh, do I want to talk about the immune system? It's already hard enough for people to believe that viruses can't be caught. But let me say this, not only are vaccines not safe and effective, but they're not necessary. So let me throw that word on the end there, not necessary. As far as the immune system is concerned, when I was reading that, I was like, oh my gosh, 16 years, or at the time, 15 years of telling people that the immune system is 80 to 90% in the gut, was like, oh my gosh, now and it's okay. Like, wellness is always evolving, right? Yesterday, I might have said your vitamin D should be at 90. And today I might say probably better around 65 or 70. I don't know. It's always changing. We have to be able to say, we don't know everything. I was wrong about that, whatever, right? That makes a good wellness practitioner with a good critical mind. So tell me this. Do they mean, living in
bacteria are pleomorphic, they change their form according to the environment, therefore you will find the appropriate bacteria or different bacteria in different parts of the body according to the actual sort of chemical makeup of the organ or whatever. They are not fixed, and that's something else that is one of the problems with the medical system, that treating the body is it's some kind of sort of machine thing where everything's different, separate parts. It's not all interconnected, and that so you've got these bacteria that are they're bad if they look like this, or they're good if they look like that. That can be proven to be false, because people have what's called a staph infection, and it's supposed to cause various, or it's associated with various symptoms, and it's recognized that people can have that type of bacteria in their bodies without exhibiting symptoms. And if you don't have symptoms, you can't be ill, because that's how diseases are defined, by their symptoms. So if you don't have symptoms, you don't have a disease, and if the bacteria are there, that means they cannot be the cause, because if they were the cause, they would produce the disease. So this is taking
staph infections?
a much clearer and
I think
more
they're saying it
logical
would be a
approach to
contamination.
what we're told
You get a
about how
cut,
the body
and then you've got a
works. But I mean, you're right,
contamination
there
of,
is
some
so much
sort of
that is
toxin
still
in there,
unknown
right,
about how
of
the body
the
works,
environment.
because it's all been coming
Okay, that
from
makes sense.
the wrong assumptions and the wrong theories and the wrong ideas. And of course, the mechanistic idea does support the whole pharmaceutical industry, and including the vaccine industry as well, because they profit off keeping us beholden to them to look after us, because it's better that we don't know that our bodies look after themselves, or we can help our bodies look after itself.
So God made you perfectly, so why are you looking outside of your going to try to cover the test?
Just to be working with unicorns, which are other mythical creatures, and these little dots that they see under an electron microscope, which they've given the name virus to, which is a corruption of the language. As people may know, the word virus comes from the Latin, so its original and proper meaning is poison or toxic material. It's nothing to do with an organism, and they often erroneously call viruses microorganisms, as if they are living things. They are not. They have never been proved to be alive. Okay, so they're telling us that these are scientifically proven, they are not living things. Okay, but they're trying to tell us that somehow these non-living things can come alive in some way, and spread from one person to another, and populate that person's body in sufficient numbers, reproduce in sufficient numbers to make that person ill or even kill them. This has never been proven, ever.
Except with
and
STDs.
They even defy their own.
Except with STDs.
People may have heard of Koch's postulates, the German microbiologist.
Yeah, STDs. Hey.
Yeah, like,
I think they
let's
bring
say
up
herpes.
STDs. Yeah, I think they bring up herpes at one time. Not in this interview, but another one. I heard them bringing up herpes, and I forget what they were saying. I think it was like it's some sort of poison. Like, like that's why, it's like kind of the same thing as before. Like your body is like trying to expel toxins through your skin and it's coming out through your lips or whatever, right?
Right.
So,
well, what I've been taught is that like the herpes virus let's just say lips, so we can make it less awkward. The virus lives in your nervous system somewhere. It just floats through like your brain and all like the veins. That's your spinal fluid cords that go to give you the information. And whenever it's prompted by stress or just it feels like it goes on a vacation to your lip. And that's when it goes to the surface and just like, oh, that's what it's like out here. And then it goes back inside.
Right.
You will always have, once you have it, you will always have it.
Right.
You cannot have it. And then you can
not show symptoms, but you still have it. Yeah.
You can go around someone who does have it and then go and kiss them and then you will have it. We know this is fact, although I haven't done this personally in practice.
Right. And I wonder, because I wonder if that's ever, I know that's how they say it goes, but I wonder if there's like anyone been done in a lab situation where they like try to, deliberately in front of somebody spread it, and be like, okay, we'll check you next week and see if you've got it now, and then it's just like, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, okay, like, so say the reason they think you're going to spread it is because like, oh, okay, you go home and now all of a sudden someone in your family has it, right? And it's, oh, they must have caught it from you just sharing a drink or you gave them a kiss or something, right? For bed. And now they got it. Or there's something in your house like black mold or something like that that's like triggering this in you, And then in the other person too, because like me, maybe your rooms are next to each other, or, who knows, right? I think that's kind of their get to. I'd like to hear them bring that up. That's what I was kind of hoping maybe they were going to get into some of these tougher to explain ones, but it doesn't look like
contemporary.
There's still some time left there.
One of and really the most important of his postulates was that the germ should always be found on the sick person and never found on the healthy person. Okay. And that gets contradicted time and time again. So then they invent a system which they called asymptomatic, which was really to sort of cover their nonsense by saying, oh, well, if you're asymptomatic, you can be a carrier of the germ, but not actually have any symptoms and not be ill. Well, you're not ill then, are you? So it's just nonsense, but they invent new things, new cover stories, new nonsense to try and, for the most part, they get away with it, to bamboozle the public into thinking that the medical establishment actually know what they're talking about. And it's all based on science. And I mean, this was as big a shock to us when we started looking at it 15 years ago. But, we're quite confident now. And of course, more doctors and scientists are now speaking out. And there's quite some well-known ones. We mentioned two of them, like Dr. Andy Kaufman, Dr. Tom Cowan, Dr. Stefan Lanka, and there have been many others. And I'm not saying that you should only listen to doctors, because let's face it, it's the doctors that got us into this position in the first place by not knowing what they were doing. Not their fault, of course. They, like anyone, you can only practice what you've been taught, whether you're like myself, an electrical engineer.
True. I do believe
or
that.
An accountant or a builder, a plumber, whatever. You do what you're trained at college. And if what you've been trained and told is wrong, you won't know, will you? And you'll just carry it out. And that's exactly what has happened with the medical establishment. And we've talked to doctors who've verified this to us, who've obviously now left the medical establishment, because as soon as they speak out, they have their licenses taken off them. So that's the golden handcuffs, isn't it?
Yeah. They have perpetuated. This is like a snowball. It has literally been like a snowball, tiny little, piece of snow that they have. Anytime someone comes up and might prove something, they just keep rolling it and making it bigger with lies. So let's ask some questions here. Let's answer some questions. So Karen says, is there no such thing as infection? I'm thinking more along the lines of you get a cut, a wound, a shot, or whatever, and there's a need for antibiotics to prevent infection in the open sore. That's a great question, Karen.
Yeah.
They're not infection. I mean, most of the time, if you get a wound or whatever, it will become red. But that red is sort of inflammation, and that's because the body is producing repair materials and pushing it sort of towards that area, because that's all part of the body's normal healing processes. So it'll send the healing materials to that area, and that's how the wounds, that's how the skin heals and the wound closes. So it's not that it's infected, but obviously you do need to keep it clean, but not from germs, just clean from coming into contact with any kind of chemicals or dirt or whatever, because that will aggravate the healing process. So it's keeping it as clean as possible.
The redness, if you think about it logically, the redness is the extra supply of blood that the body is pushed to that area with, as Dawn said, with the healing materials. And of course, the medical establishment doesn't understand that, so they see it go red and say that's an infection, so let's give it some antibiotics, which is, you're now giving it a poison. Antibiotics are poisonous. The clue is in the name. Antibiotic means anti-life. Okay, so let's give it some poisonous material to kill the bacteria, which are actually there trying to clean up the wound. So it's.
Hey,
Yeah,
Canadians,
but what if the
did you know
wound
that you can convert
lasts a
some or
while?
all of your RRSP into physical gold and
That's what
silver?
Cambell, maybe he'll bring it up.
And your
Yeah, it's trying to defeat what the body is trying to do. So redness around a wound is not infection. It's the body doing what it's supposed to do, to send extra blood and materials to keep the area clean and to repair it. That's what it is. So
what about for people, and I had a cat bite on my leg one time. My cat redirected her aggression at me and bit my leg. I could not even walk. It was so hard and big and shiny. My calf was absolutely ginormous, couldn't walk, had to go to the doctor. They gave me a shot. This is like 25, 30 years ago, something like that. And within 12 hours, the swelling had gone down. So can you explain that? So, because I know I'm going to get pummeled with these questions,
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, one of the things people have to, let's go back to antibiotics, because that's the favorite thing, isn't it? Let's give you antibiotics. Now, as we've said, the clue is in the name. It's antibiotics, whatever they are toxic to the body. Okay. And the body recognizes them as being toxic. So it wants to eliminate them. Okay. But the one thing it does is, because now you've added extra poison to the body, so it fires up the endocrine system of the body, which would normally be working, but it goes into like superdrive, which not only flushes out the antibiotics, poison, but of course, whatever the other poison was in the cat bite or whatever. So that's how it works. But of course, and this is even the medical system is getting wise to it, that if you keep giving people antibiotics and keep firing up their endocrine system, eventually, like over-revving your car engine for hours and hours on end, you damage it. And so the endocrine system no longer works properly. And then the medical system said, oh, we obviously need some new antibiotics because no one's responding to these old ones, or this person is not responding. No, because you've just ruined their body's system with overdosing them with antibiotics. So that's really what's happening. So if your leg had swelled up, there's obviously could have been poison in there from the bite, scratch, whatever it is, a toxin of some sort. And the body's, for some reason, in your case, and this sometimes happens, not able to deal with it properly. So there's swelling. And that would need investigating as to why your body's not actually eliminating it.
Yeah, he's
so
having
the
trouble.
antibiotics forces the body to do something about it. So it's not the antibiotics that cure anything. It's just the body's forced into overdrive, and then it pushes everything out, including the antibiotics.
Okay. So as people know, well, a lot of people don't know that antibiotics and pharmaceuticals come from
kind of a good
nutraceuticals.
answer.
So, it'd be wise to learn as much as you can about, nutraceuticals and how those can help you with infections as opposed to running straight to a pharmaceutical. Okay. So good question by Joan. I would like to hear a little bit more about bacteria like Hep A that you supposedly get from food workers and STDs. Good question.
Well, hepatitis, they're all supposed to be viruses, not bacteria. So, but I mean, it's the same thing that germs, whether bacteria, they're not the cause. I mean, hepatitis is some problem with the liver. Therefore, the liver's the main
It's supposed to be a
detoxification
virus that
organ.
attacks the
Therefore, the
liver,
liver's
right?
probably a little bit backed
And
up
the
with
evidence of
toxins
that
and
is the
struggling in
scarring.
some way.
Right.
I mean,
So she's saying you're getting
the obvious one
poisoned
is
by something that's just
the kind of
targeting your
problems that
liver.
people have if they drink too much alcohol. They have liver poisoning. That's because the liver's being overloaded with alcohol, which I'm sure people won't like. It is poisonous.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is, but it's a
I
poison.
have
So
family that got
to call
hepatitis,
it hepatitis,
and it
whatever
had nothing
the
to do with
different
alcohol.
different names, letters. I think Hep B is supposed to be one that is a little more serious. I mean, they've got a so-called vaccine for it, but again, it causes far more harm. I mean, it doesn't do any good, but it certainly causes harm.
See,
what was the STDs? Again, same thing. If you're talking, because we've said there's no such thing as an infection, that includes so-called sexually transmitted diseases, because they're all supposed to be caused by either a bacterium or a virus. We've sort of explained that there is no evidence that either bacteria or viruses cause any kind of illness, and that means that includes what are called sexually transmitted diseases. Again, you have to look at all sorts of different factors that could be involved, including the kind of products that people use in those sorts of areas that have all kinds of chemicals in them, bleached products, and all the different sort of all the different products that people have that may have perfumes in them, and perfumes are extremely toxic, contain extremely toxic sort of chemical products. Fragrances are pretty nasty. So again, you'd have to look at anything and everything, but again, just because symptoms come out in one particular part of the body, that doesn't mean that there is a problem in that part of the body. The body will just choose whatever part of the body is suitable for expelling toxins. So again, you can have eruptions in different parts of the body for the same reason. I mean, somebody could get a sort of, a rash on their back, and somebody could get a rash in the sort of genital area, and could have the same reasons for that. It's the body will choose whatever is the appropriate part, the appropriate organ, the appropriate area to actually produce those symptoms.
Yeah, and yeah, I just started with the root brands, which I've researched heavily. Started taking this stuff called Clean Slate, and every time that I increase the drops, I get pimples. This has happened for 3 days. So when I was doing a call about this product and sharing this with my practitioners about why I signed up with them and how powerful it was, I was explaining this isn't something that I want to avoid, right? This is something I want to happen because it's expressing whatever it is. And of course, I've got 1 or 2 silver amalgams left in my mouth, and I'm sure that has something to do with it because it's very powerful chelator of metals, and it just started. And so I tested it.
The
took
poison
the drops down, no pimples the next day, went up again, more pimples on my face. I'm 52 years old. Okay, I mean, I'm long past the teenage angst of acne, right? But very much, very much the same thing. So yeah, great explanation. I want to read these things here. Mary says, tuned in for just a few minutes to say how much I've enjoyed your book. Thank you for all of the years of work you've put into it. Deborah's saying, I'm loving this. This is what I have taught for so long. Wonderful. I'm loving to see my practitioners and coaches on here learning about this. You guys, it's very
toxic, I guess.
Very important we understand this, because as I've said in my announcement for my email, people are allergic to good news. Why don't people want to understand that this is good news? Why are we running away from this powerful information? I'm running towards it as fast as I can. One thing I want to say here. So
okay.
We're almost done.
And kids
wants to believe that they can.
Oh wait.
Can you explain that more? They eat clean, they're aware of environmental toxins, and they want their child to get chickenpox and have chickenpox parties. And kids get it. Can you explain that more? I think go ahead. I saw you about to say something, David.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we've said, if someone wants to believe that they can catch chickenpox because of a virus, then someone somewhere
they
has
were
to
kind of
prove
more
it.
leading to
It's up to the medical establishment. If that's a disease, do they
Look,
have
her
that
husband's home in
information?
the background.
And
It's
all the
getting
ones,
something
which
from
is the
fridge, and it's
majority,
like-
surprisingly, have written back
She's
and
trying
said,
to cover
no,
it
we
up
don't.
with her head there.
So they all admit that they don't have any scientific proof that this virus exists and causes the disease, but that doesn't stop them telling people to get vaccinated against it or to wear masks or social. We have to realize, and certain
I first listened to when I started researching the root brands, and she talks about dark light microscopic studies on this particular product and how it attracts the spike proteins and graphene oxide and how this clean slate is working on that. So Christine Massey just came in, and I have never seen references. I mean, okay, so let me just take a moment. And I know there's more questions. And some of these questions, you guys, I'm just going to tell you to get the book because we could go for hours about all of this. So I'm going to tell you to get the book and take your time with it. Don't get overwhelmed by it. But I'm just going to read a couple of things that are covered in here in regards to topics so that you all understand the unbelievable scope of research and understanding.
Who would have thought that a simple honey solution could help me get rid of dementia? People always ask me how I recovered my memory, and everything
that's gone into this topic, okay?
Don't need to see
so
anymore.
Just
Honey,
a couple
good.
of things they talk about. Psychiatric medications, antihypertensives, statins, over-the-counter medications, vaccines, smallpox, polio, cervical cancer, everything you want to know about vaccine damage and injury, the germ theory, viruses and bacteria, fungi, worms, protozoa, you guys, parasites, such a big topic, right? Infectious diseases, leprosy, the 1918 flu, Black Death, animals and diseases, and I want you to talk about in just a second once you talk about something there, and then I promise we'll wrap up. Even though I could literally fly out there and live with you for a week and not have enough time. Natural poisons and metals, ionizing radiation, poisoned food.
So, shit. No, I'm forgetting what it was. Fuck. I was gonna say something.
She's going on to poison food.
Yeah, poison food.
All the things you want to know about our world, you guys. The WHO, CDC, cardiovascular infections, poisoned bodies, chlorination, global issues. All of them, you guys. And the real nature and cause of illness. And there's
fuck.
Entire section on wealth, power, and influence, globalization, the control
right
agenda,
on the edge of my brain. I'm like,
control the medical system, and on, and EMF and everything. Okay. All right. Can you please put to rest tetanus and rabies? Can you put those two things? Can you tell us about tetanus and rabies real quick?
Lockjaw?
Yeah, they don't exist.
Yes. And oh boy, did I get a hand slap for that one a couple times, you guys, and unfriended and all. And
so tetanus
crazy
is
that they don't exist.
Like,
tell me why.
Bacteria or something.
Well, again, we're back to
rust.
Can it be proved that there is something that causes
it doesn't come from the rust. It comes from like a fecal matter that is on the rust.
Right. Yeah.
So like if you found a rusty nail or whatever and got stabbed by it, you're probably okay. Like say it was on the wall or something like that and you got fucking stabbed, you're fine. Nothing's going to happen. But if it was like buried in the ground and shit, then like, you got stabbed by it, then it might be that like, oh, some animal fucking took a shit there or something and it kind of like got absorbed into the rust and now that's getting stabbed into you. Yeah.
Causes those that is different to, i.e. we're talking, can it be proved that there is a germ or something that causes those things? And no, they can't. Yes, people, animals can be poisoned. And the symptoms, let's take rabies, when people went back and looked at the so-called scientific work of Pasteur, who dealt with rabies, it's all fraudulent stuff. I mean, Pasteur has been, for those who want to look into it, has been exposed as a fraud. And
really,
I mean, he'd wanted all his papers upon his death to be destroyed. Now, that raises a big question, doesn't it? What you're sort of hailed and lionized as, there's the Pasteur Institute in France, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see that because our book has been translated into French. So it's interesting to see that the publishers on the cover of our book in France have put the big statue of Pasteur slowly crumbling and breaking apart because it's gone into 2 volumes. So in the second volume, his head's fallen off and an arm and great big, which is sort of quite an amusing way because, the whole Pasteur thing. So, but anyway, I digress slightly. But, he was responsible for bringing this myth of rabies in. Whenever you look at it, which we did, dogs exhibiting some of these symptoms. This is what happens when it's malnutrition, dehydrated, basically abused, undernourished. All of these things are what, and the same thing can happen to people, of course,
is a big one,
when and does, if people are malnourished, you get those symptoms. It's nothing to do with the germ. No one has ever proved, including Pasteur, has ever proved that it's a germ. Same with tetanus. People can come in their garden if they cut their hand or something and they come into contact with something in the ground, not a germ. It could be the fertilizers they've used, the pesticides they've used, the insecticide they've used, or that's drifted in from the farmer down the road who's spraying his crops.
That's good, but I would like to hear, because I mean, like, has rabies, I guess, because like people get treated with it. Like, I don't think anybody dies from rabies. Hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like not only do people die from it, there's a very little survival rate if you're not treated in time.
We should look that up quick.
Yeah, because I recently looked it up.
I want to just look. I'll just ask my Chat GPT. I want to see how many people die from fucking something like that every year. Hey.
Hey there, hope you're having a great day. Let me know if there's anything I can help with.
I'm just wondering how many people die in North America, or let's say Canada and the US, of rabies every year.
Doo-doo-doo.
Rabies is extremely rare in both Canada and the US. In Canada, there have been only 28 reported human deaths from rabies since 1924, with the most recent case happening in 2024. In the US, fewer than 10 people die from rabies each year, with the last notable case in 2024. These low numbers highlight the effectiveness of vaccination and control measures.
So last year, somebody died of it.
10 people, though, right? That's what they're saying in America, and only like 1 in Canada. They're saying like 28 people have died since 1934 or something. He said, like, that's such a low number. I think 500 people die per year from aspirin overdose, just accidental. Like, oh, I took 4 aspirins today, and
So-
like, they're only supposed to have 3.
Yeah,
You
and
know? Like,
the
that's
normal
a big
way to
fucking difference.
the normal way to get it is from an animal, right? So like the people staying away from animals, we're pretty good at it.
Now, what about tetanus? Or sorry, tetanus. How many people die from tetanus?
Tetanus is quite rare in Canada due to effective vaccination. Globally, there were about 56,700 deaths from tetanus in 2015, and neonatal tetanus has dropped significantly from over 1 million deaths annually in the 1980s to around 25,000 in 2018. In Canada, cases are extremely rare, with only 5 deaths since 1980, the last one being in 1997. So, thanks
1997.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good,
right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing where you're like, someone gets stabbed and right away they're like, oh, you got to get a tetanus shot. Like, I don't think I do. How many people are died from tetanus, right? Like,
well, okay. So what you should look up on there, like, what are the symptoms of tetanus?
I think it's lockjaw, isn't it? That's like the main one.
That's one of the symptoms. You get lockjaw because the muscle spasms are happening. Your jaw muscles are just the only ones that
most sensitive or something.
They'll swell up, meaning like they'll lock down and they won't let go. They'll get a cramp, a muscle cramp in your jaw. So that alone is painful, right?
Yeah.
But then how do you eat? You can't eat. Your mouth is closed.
So then you get malnutrition, and Yeah, but I mean, for us in a civilized, first world country, they, as soon as you show any kind of symptoms, you can just go in and get a shot, and then then you're done.
Yeah,
right.
Jaws released.
Right. So then I guess that would have to we'd have to ask them too that question, like, oh well, how come a vaccine against tetanus would work to relieve it, or maybe it doesn't?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe these people are just getting it and then their body would cure it anyways. And the few that don't are the ones that die. Like, oh, we gave them the stuff, but they ended up dying from tetanus,
So the other symptom is all the other muscles, they spasm. And the spasm is so violent, it's been recorded that it has broken bones.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is extra wild. Like my own father, when he was, I think, like 10 years old, and him and his siblings were up to no good in Quebec visiting our grandparents over in Morin Heights. He jumped down from one platform down to another and got a nail through the foot.
Okay.
And wasn't feeling well the next day. So the Grandma Miles did some like old village Quebec kind of remedy for him, which was like oats in a sock that were warm,
right,
and wrapped his foot in it to kind of like help leach whatever poison that could be in his foot out. And it didn't do any good. So he ended up spending a year in General Hospital.
Oatmeal sock didn't work, eh?
Oatmeal sock didn't work. So, spent a year in General Hospital while doctors did their best to try to revive him.
Oh, wow.
Bring him back. And there was a few times like he had to like be brought out. Like, look, we have this specimen here. He has
catatonic.
He has this blood illness from rusty nail. And we're doing our best. It was like blood poisoning, I think they labeled it as. From what he can remember.
Interesting.
Anyways. Yeah.
So that's something different, though. It's not tetanus, right? Like
it was something different,
like blood
or
poisoning.
it could have been, and this is just the way he's retelling it.
Right.
I mean,
But that would be interesting, right? It's like, it's from tetanus, but technically he's got blood poisoning, right? Which could be caused by something else, really.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, whatever the doctors of the 60s did.
Let's we got like 8 minutes. Let's wrap this up because I got to work tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Lands on your garden or your fruit or your vegetables, and that toxin gets into your skin in a cut or something, and yes, can cause problems. But again, no joke.
It's reversing the deep grooves of neural pathways we've created by the programming that they did on meds and bad diet. You become a sad. So we all have to remember that when it comes right down to it, we can ask all the questions. Doing this book out so often that it just sits like IPA diet
figures only from 3% of doctors. So we can multiply that probably by 100. So it's big numbers, and that's just in a small country like the United Kingdom. But it's obviously bigger numbers in America, and then you take it worldwide, we're talking millions.
I think that's
millions of people have died just from that vaccination.
Yeah, getting
and
the
millions more
vaccination because they're saying there is like the damage. Like when you get the vaccine damage, only like 1% get reported. So if there was 1,000 cases that got reported, and that's only 1%, then you have to times it by 100. It's like 20,000, people reported, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's how they come up with those numbers.
Yeah, like I myself might be damaged, and like I just don't report it because I don't know any better.
Yeah, exactly, right. Or it's showing as a different symptom. You're like, oh, geez, why do I have high blood pressure?
Yeah. I felt so terrible during the booster that like life is just different on the other side.
Did you have high blood pressure after all that stuff, or was it before?
Oh, after.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, there we go.
Seriously
injured. We'll have to look into that sometime.
Bring me into some places where I'm the guinea pig.
We'll run you under the microscope.
Buy it.
Get you checked out.
We'll make a documentary.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's one to explore next time.
Yeah.
And that's just that one vaccination.
Yeah. And that is, and so we can kind of wrap up here. And again, thanks for staying extra long here. We hardly lost anyone from the call because it's so intriguing what you guys are sharing, but I think we can wrap up.
All right, let's wrap up.
Yeah, let's
I don't
wrap
think
up.
they're going to cover any bases. They kind of got it covered, but I'd like to buy that book. I think I saw that book of theirs is $10 if you get the PDF version.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I mean, it's really huge, right? So I was like, I think I'm going to buy an e-reader and then fucking download that book, and then I go over it for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Find something to highlight. Maybe get AI in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. If it's a PDF.
Yeah. So to end this off, I'm gonna give like the fastest review ever.
Oh yeah, because we got to mention UFOs, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Because I bought the Age of Disclosure.
Right. Yes, I want to watch that. We should have a viewing party.
I was kind of let down.
Really?
Okay, so one, I didn't learn anything new.
Right.
It's all stuff I already knew.
And
so
it's
it was
all like government people,
yeah.
right? Like high-end government people. That's kind of like
It's all Lou Elizondo.
Oh, it's like mostly him, hey?
He's the presenter.
Oh.
Like he didn't make the movie, but it looks like he did.
Right.
So as soon as I saw him, and I was like, oh no, this whole thing is a psyop.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know how to play it. Do you trust him? Don't you trust him? Nothing interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
It was all stuff we already know, and but it's just different people saying it out loud. Like Hal Puthoff. Like, can you really trust him 100%?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting
so,
to hear what
like,
he's saying, but
but you're so deep in the government. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about we just hang around and see what's coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to, hey?
Yeah. Anyways, on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in. And what did that lady say? Staying extra late?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sticking around if anyone's there. And, don't be afraid to call in sometime. We're waiting. One of these days, we're going to get our first caller.
Yeah. All right.
This is a call-in show.
Okay, catch you next time on the Conspiracy Wars.
Catch you on the flip side.
Yes, there are forces at work to squelch all valid UFO material. The Earth at that time did flip a few degrees on its axis.
But as world population grew and life became more complex, the need for more efficient tools increased.
Evil and violence, the only two measures that hold any power. He wouldn't pick up. Lord,
Hear ye, great demons of hell.
You aren't in charge of your own life anymore. Somebody else is. And somebody's going to be watching you all the time.